And this is season 2, episode 1 of the Dreaded Archer podcast. Let's go. And we are back for another exciting episode of the Dreaded Archer podcast. I'm your host, Trey Reed, aka the Dreaded Archer. And today I got a special guest with me today. Is my friend Rob. What's up, Rob?
It's going good, man. When you, I'm going to tell you what, out here in the Black Hills of South Dakota, we are getting a lot of wind and snow today, which we need the moisture, but it's pretty awesome today.
Oh yeah, I was talking to my boss last week, and he was saying, "Man, he goes, I don't want any snow like they got up in North Dakota, but he goes, I can show you the moisture."
It's our son has a job as a South Dakota wildland firefighter, and I don't want to see him get broken into this career like on one of the worst fire seasons ever. So hopefully we can take a little bit more moisture.
Oh yeah, it's weird because during like the winter and everything, people don't want snow, but it seemed like this year everybody's like wanting something like rain or snow, something to get some moisture into the ground. So it's like it's been kind of rough out there in out west.
Yep, definitely. It's I know a lot of ranchers are already kind of talking about having to sell some of their pairs off because they just don't have enough pasture grass this year, to feed their livestock. So that same thing has impact on us with our wildlife too. So I know a lot of people that have moved here to the Dakotas or the upper Midwest. They're like, oh, we just need to get out of winter and get into summertime with some hot weather. And you're like, no, like South Dakota, like one of our primary factors is moisture. That's one thing that keeps us going on the farmers. And if you like to whitetail deer hunt on the east side of the state, you don't have cornfields. It's primary food source for deer. So
I want to say it was a year of COVID. Like when COVID was at its highest, like towards 2020, 2021. That spring, everything seemed so much greener out. And I don't. And did we get a lot of moisture during that time?
Yeah, I mean, I was doing a ton of fly fishing that year, and the primary streams that I like to hit a lot had a ton of water in them. Like, I was kind of spoiled. Like, we caught a lot of fish that year, that first year. But the rest of it, I don't really remember. Like being self-employed, like it's kind of a distant memory. I don't even remember really what the weather was like outside.
Yeah, I thought it was due to the fact that we were all inside because of COVID. Not a lot of people traveling, so the environment got a chance to kind of recover. So everything just looked greener.
Right. Yeah, definitely. And that's the funny thing is like the trails and stuff weren't all beat down for because where I live at, this, like there's just a ton of hiking trails. But then as the year progressed and people started to go outside more, it was crazy how many people were outside, using those trails and stuff.
I was going to the archery shops and like no one was shooting indoors, but everybody was shooting outdoors. So like there was like no room outside during that time. So everybody was getting outside then.
That's been one of like COVID wasn't all doom and gloom. There's a lot of good things that came out of it, and I think that's one of them. More people decided like, hey, like I'm going to go outside. I'm going to get out and explore more and do more family type things. So, I mean, there's a silver lining in there someplace. That's one of them.
Oh, definitely. But hey, we are all past the old gloom and doom of COVID. We are now, I guess, we're out of it in the safe zone. We're good now.
You better knock on some wood, man. I don't know. 2 hours from now, you're calling me cough and hack, and you're like, "Oh man."
Hey, don't put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby. Don't put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby. Oh no, man! But Now we're 2022. We're now turkey hunting. A lot of us are getting out turkey hunting. I got out this morning. No luck, but it's still a a good time to be outside. Anytime that you're out hunting, it's better. What did you say? A bad day of hunting is better than a good day at work.
Yep. Yep.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
that's for me because I work for somebody. You're self-employed, so you want a good day at work and a good day of hunting.
I was like, Julie was so mad at me today because at one point in time, I'm like, I wish it would snow way more so we could like maybe just lock the door today and like go home and go chill for a while or something, you know. And she's like, no, it's not how it works. So
Right? No, not at all, man. But the next week when I'm in Rapid, I definitely got to swing by and grab some cookies. What's the specials for the week?
man, I will tell you what, there's a carrot cake cookie that's in there. It's like if you knew how many pounds of actual carrots got dumped in there versus and the cream cheese. So you know, because you hit the convenience stores. You ever seen those little square cellophane wrapped carrot cakes with the cream cheese frosting on them?
Yeah. Oh, it's Mrs. Bakery or Mr. Fresh,
Yeah.
something like. Yeah,
Ours
I know you talking about.
ours are like 10 times better than that. So when you come in, I'll make sure you get hit up with one of those.
Well, I would definitely get one of those because I do love those carrot cakes. I love the carrot cakes, and then they also make a yellow cake with chocolate frosting. But the
Yeah.
only store that I can get it at is in at the Casey's and St. Joe's. It's the only store that has it. And
Yep.
before it was a Casey's, it was a Bucky's, and the Bucky's carried it. I'm sure Casey's don't carry it at all. But
You know what I got asked to make today? A guy came in and I was having that same conversation with him about the carrot cake thing, and he's like, "You should figure out how to make a raspberry zinger cookie. You ever had zingers like the lemon zingers or the raspberry zingers?"
yeah, from Hostess.
Oh my god! Like he put that bug in my ear, so I know what tonight's going to be grinding around in my head. I'll be
Hey,
making one of those. Yeah, I'll probably make a batch so you can have one when you're here.
I'm trying to stay up the sweets, but anytime I come to Rapid City, I gotta swing by and get some sweet. Always.
We love it.
Oh, for sure, for sure. So, have you gotten a chance to get out and do a little turkey hunting this year?
A little bit. My daughter Claire has an archery tag, and I have a shotgun tag. I just haven't had time to get out and go. And with her, like this will, if she shoots a turkey, it's going to be her first one, and I'm just making that my 100%, my goal to get that done for her. And then I've got some spots I can go, but I've kind of got her in a slam dunk spot. It's just she's been spending so much time at the range. She wants to go. Our son Andrew has a tag, but he's 20 years old. He's off running with the boys. They're out doing their thing. They don't even want to hunt. They go to like, they stop at the coffee cup, get some food, then they go to Dairy Queen, get some food, then they come back to Rapid and go to Buffalo Wild Wings. Like he's living that kind of life right now. So
Uh,
I'm not even out with him.
yep, more eating than hunting.
More eating than hunting. And I'm like, but man, they are into it. They've been putting on some miles out hiking hunting. So
Oh, for sure, man. You know, over the last couple of weeks, I've kind of stepped back from social media just a tad bit because the more that I get involved with the like the Dreaded Archer podcast and all that and Instagram, I don't want my podcast or my Instagram page to come off as if I'm some type of influencer. You know what I mean?
yep.
Yep. So I kind of took a step back. I post a little bit here and there, but not as much as I used to. And I started thinking about like the impact of like social media on the hunting industry. And I've read articles, I've heard different podcasts talk about this topic. But like, what will be your take? Like, how do you feel? How has social media influenced hunting? Is it for the good or for the bad?
Um, well, let's remember I'm 52 years old, so like I've kind of went through the cycle, and I think everybody gets through this. I think I kind of know like the one primary podcast you're probably referring to, but I almost kind of feel like it's a little bit more negative than anything. Like some guys are like they're worried about spot burning. They're like, hey, like quit posting like where this and that is at. I don't think so much of that. I think it almost makes it look like it's easy,
Oh,
you
yep.
know. And I don't mind the grip and grins. I'm like, hey, like be proud of what you did, be proud of what you shot, but also make sure at the same time, like you're celebrating what you did with the eating it, the process, the family, the good times, if all you're known and all everybody ever sees with you is holding great big critters all the time, like they don't really know who the real you is. And maybe that's been good or bad for me in the past, that, like I think people know more about me because of everything I post other than just that. I think though it's also created issues with uh it can get overwhelming, like you see a lot of these social media influencers and they'll go to another state and hunt, and then it's just like, oh well, so and so is going to that state and they're bragging about how great the hunting is and it's cheap and it's guaranteed tags and it's all this. It does kind of create like an issue that I see in that. I think the positives though, I mean, if there's some late onset hunters that it's bringing out, I think it's showing kids like they can have more visual to it. But social media to me just goes back to, what happened to the days when you open up a photo album and people were like sat next to you and like looked at your photos or whatever. I mean, that's really all we had.
Right.
Can you imagine if somebody was sat next to you and said, yeah, I don't like that picture. Yeah, I like that picture, looking through the photo album. Like, I don't know. And people post so much stuff because they want the satisfaction of getting a like or a comment.
Oh, definitely.
And
Trying to get in algorithms, trying to stay relative.
yeah, and it's almost like, we say this all, like I say this all the lot with some other guys that I hunt with too, is like, and social media would be so much better if like maybe on some of that stuff you just couldn't comment or you couldn't like it. I mean, I know there's some controls on that, but like, hey, it's just a picture. Look at it. If you like it, I will never know if you really liked it or not. I'll go back to that photo album as growing up as a kid. Like Aunt Betty never said, oh, I hate that picture. Oh, I like that picture. Let me leave a comment on that picture. She was
Right.
like, yep, she just nodded her head. Yep.
And that was it.
Yeah, that was it. And like, I felt like satisfied at the time. I mean, I don't know. Like that's the problem is now we're in such a point in time in society and history of like wanting people to like us, And it seems like if you're the person who doesn't care if somebody likes you, then you're kind of the outcast. You're like, man, you're Clint Eastwood. What's going on with you?
I know
So
people like freaked out when YouTube took the like and dislike count off. So like right now, if you go to YouTube and you watch a video, if you like it or dislike it, you won't know how many people liked or disliked it unless you do like it's kind of like a backdoor way to get into YouTube and you can actually
yeah,
still see the numbers. But people got upset about that, and it was due to the fact that most people want to see how many people are liking and disliking their stuff. But like, when I started like posting stuff on Instagram, I mainly, focusing on my hunting, I got a lot of pushback on like, oh, you're just trying to be an influencer, or or hey man, like you're wearing the wrong camo. And it seemed like the more I posted, the more I started seeing like division. Like you see, say you wear like Sika and like I wear Numa. I would see Sika people saying like, hey dude, you should be wearing Sika. Like, why? Why does it matter? Why does
yeah.
it matter what I wear? Like you're creating a division in something that doesn't matter. Like it doesn't matter if I'm wearing this type of camo or this type of camo. You should, I guess, only care about, am I having a good time hunting and am I doing it ethically? And you know what I'm saying? Like, why does it matter
Well,
what you wear?
hashtag sick
Oh,
of it
dude,
or sit. Like
dude, the hashtags have gotten crazy now. Like I've seen, like depending on what hashtag you use will depend on what kind of likes and dislikes you get, and that's like
right.
crazy.
Well, yeah, because I mean, people are subscribing to those hashtags, and that's how they're showing up. And like, so I mean, me, I'm 50 shades of camo. I got every single thing that there is out there because I just buy like whatever company has what's best. I'm trying harder and harder all the time to just buy strictly American-made products at this point. I mean, I try. I'm not 100% perfect, but um, it's marketing though. It's all marketing based on like that's the problem. Like that's to me, I feel like that's how social media has gone to the wrong of. I get it. People make money off of it. It's like, hey, we're all entitled to make a living how we are. However, are we doing it in a way that's affecting our non-renewable resources?
Right.
Like what point in time, like I think where I stand on shed hunting. And I'm not going to say I'm 100% opposed to it. I just want to know that people are being smart about it. But people will literally go out. They don't care how much they're affecting wildlife if they're in an area where elk or deer are trying to like a sanctuary in the extreme weather. Like they'll go out and do it so they can post pictures of their antlers on social media and be like, hey, brown down or whatever, however they say it. And that's frustrating to me because that's just so they get more likes. That's just so
Right.
they get more subscribers. That's just so they get more this or that. And again, I'm not 100% against it, but man, I would sure like to know that people are using some common sense when they're out there and stuff like that. But again, you know, that's frustrating. It's super frustrating.
Oh, definitely. I know when I got a chance to go over to the South Dakota bow hunters meet and greet, I was talking to a guy named Travis, and he was actually talking about people shed hunting during the harsh times of the year. And before talking to him, I'd really never thought about um, is it good or bad to shed hunt. I just knew like, all right, this is a time period where people shed hunt, and I thought it was all good because everybody was doing it during that time.
Right.
And he broke it down to me. He was saying like, "Hey," he goes, "think about this. That deer, say that mature buck, worked his butt off to find that particular spot during the harshest times of the year. So the reason he's staying there is because there's probably good cover there, there's good food there, there's water nearby, et cetera, et cetera."
Yep.
He goes, "Well, then you come trekking in, mid February, early March, or say late February, early March. You push him out of that spot. Say you're walking in, he's bedded down. Oh, you found some antlers, and all of a sudden, boom, you scare this deer up. He runs off.
Yep.
Say the next day, it's a crazy storm. That deer didn't have enough time to find a spot. You know what I'm saying? A good
Yep.
location to bed down, to eat, to find water and food and all that. That deer might die because you pushed him out of his
Right.
sanctuary for the winter." And after talking to him, I was like, I never thought about that. That actually makes sense.
Well, if you think about it now, Trey, like with chronic wasting disease, things like that, like, don't we want, like, and again, I'm not advocating to say outlaw shed hunting. I'm not saying that. But don't we want our wildlife to be in the healthiest shape they can be in? I mean, especially like if you want to find them great big monster, bull elk antlers or whitetail antlers or whatever antlers you're after, don't you want it to be the healthiest version of like what it is when it went into it? And you know, because I know a guy and his pushback is like, well, if we don't go get them when we do, the mice and everything, porcupines, and everything else are going to be after him. And I'm like, yeah, because that's what they've been doing for 1,000 years. Like
Right.
that's what goes on when you should maybe be at home, like chilling out or going hiking on another trail or doing whatever. Again, I don't care. Go shed hunt all you want, but just know, like, I feel like it's impacting the rest, like everyone else too. That let's say I have a public piece of land, I really enjoy hunting there, but I choose to leave it alone, and then next thing I know, somebody knew that there was a you know 180-inch whitetail running around out there, and now they all know his sheds are in there, and there's 10 guys out there trouncing around the whole place trying to find those shed antlers. And so that's not really fair to me, but it's not just about me.
Right. But at the same time, I'm like, you don't want to outlaw shit hunting, but maybe like states could start maybe saying like, hey, this is the appropriate time to shed hunt. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
100%. And I think I can't see, well, anybody who's opposed to shed hunting should jump on board with that in a heartbeat, because that's fair. Like that's an
Right.
absolute fair process. I don't remember what year that or what time of the year the Atlas storm was in South Dakota, but man, if there'd been a ton of guys out pushing critters, and all of a sudden that thing, like you said, is the next day, like probably going to be some animals that are going to suffer through that, and that's, I know in Kansas, there's a few units where you cannot shed hunt. You can on private land if you want. That's like their deal. But on public lands, you can't access that until the very first day of archery turkey season. And the cool
Oh
part
wow.
about it is it's like a game farm. At that point, like you go on there and the habitat, it's not been messed with. The wildlife hasn't been messed with. they're healthy, they're happy, and like the hunting is amazing. But the more we leave our footsteps out there in nature, and that's the other thing though, Trey, too, is like, don't they deserve a break? You
Oh,
know,
definitely, definitely. Like,
like
I mean, think about it. So, say you're an archery hunter. So here in South Dakota, we start archery season with the first week of September, September
yeah,
1st.
yep,
So from September 1st to what, January 1st, we're chasing the hell out of deer.
yeah,
They need some
yep,
time, they need some time to relax.
yeah. Well, and we're not the only ones out there hunting them. I mean, we have mountain lions here, we have
Right?
coyotes, we have everything else that are pressuring these animals. We have fires. I mean, it's never ending. I mean, I don't know. I'm getting weirder the older I get because they're not there for. They're just not put on this earth for our pleasure. Like they're
No, no,
literally
no.
like we're cohabitating here with them, and we're just fortunate enough because we're able to hunt them and harvest them over a certain period of time. And I think that's where those lines get drawn. But I'm with you, man. I'm like somebody would just set some season dates. I'd be all about it. I would be afraid. I don't want to ever see it turn into like a opening day of Wisconsin deer season where there's 50 cars in the parking lot at like at a 10-acre walk-in area. But who knows? I mean, I don't know. I did. I had a conversation with a guy. Who's pretty adamant on the whole thing, and I just said, because he goes, I make a lot of money selling antlers for dog chews, and I'm like, well, you got all those elk mounts hanging in your house. Like, you ever thought about
Cutting them
popping them
down.
off? Yeah, I mean, hey, I'm all for it. I'm about people equal opportunity and stuff, but I do seriously think we need to look back and respect our wildlife just a little bit more.
Oh yeah, like I know my dogs, they love uh deer antlers. Like anytime we find them, they love them. But
Yeah,
I have gone to like PetSmart or Walmart, and when I didn't find any, and just buy them. Do you know what the price of a like an elk antler that's about maybe 3 inches? Well, about I give it about 4 inches long.
I know. I was at Shields here not that long ago out here. They had a whole end cap display of those, and I was like, "What in the world?"
Yeah, dude, they're going for like, I know here in Sioux Falls at PetSmart. I mean, you're looking at you know it's a tine that's cut in half and then cut again, so you get a fourth of a tine. It's like $15.
Yeah. Well,
So
I mean, I'll tell you a funny thing. So there's a bunch of different antler trading places, especially out here in the hills. And I remember one point over a decade ago, I was at one. I was talking to a guy, and he had this huge mule deer rack that was like laying off in the corner, and it was just a neat place to go into because they had elk hides and stuff like that. But like one whole side of the antlers were like lopped off like an inch from the top of the main beam, and I go, "What's up with that?" And he goes, "Well, that's from the times when yeah, hunters they like these guys didn't care about great big monster antlers. Those antlers, those tines were poking in the leg when they were dragging them back to their place, to cut them up and process them. So they didn't care, so they just cut the antlers all apart. It wasn't about hanging it on the wall or whatever. But it is what it is. I mean, and you're right. It's turned into an industry where there's money to be made off it again on I keep referring to it, and it's only my opinion, but like some non-renewable resource stuff. Like our antelope herd could be wiped out here in a heartbeat. Our mule deer are definitely on the decline. Elk, sharp tails. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that at any given time they could just all be gone. And then what are we gonna do?
I've always wondered how they did like surveys on that, because back when I was in college, and you'd hear down in Arkansas and Texas, they say, oh, the herd's not good this year. And I'm like, how do you guys know? Like, you can't go out and physically count every single deer or every single duck or all that. So like, it always threw me off. But then like the more I got into hunting, I realized, like, they have a good way of keeping track, or keeping inventory of the
Yep.
herd count. You know what I'm saying? And it always, like, fascinated me that you think that when you go out, you see tons and tons of deer. Like, we will never run out of deer, but that's actually a real thing. Like, hey, like, our herd could be wiped out within the next 3 to 4 years if we don't manage it properly.
Well, we've had a couple of counties in the northeast part of the state where there's just a gazillion car deer accidents, depredation on like crops and stuff was so bad at the whitetails. And then it was kind of at a point where the state, and I'm not knocking them, but like I feel like they kind of did they allowed a lot, like it was almost, I'm not saying it was unlimited, but it was darn close to like doe tags. And then pretty soon, like it didn't. It actually made it worse because there were so few does that the next year, like or the next couple of years, there was more like twins being born and stuff like that, just because the habitat was a little bit better. But like that one, like the year after that, all of a sudden it was like, well, there's hardly any tags issued, and it was kind of. I mean, it was kind of crazy at the time, when they did that. But that's another factor that gets put in there is there's a lot of pressure.
Oh yeah.
Insurance companies. I have no clue if they lobby the states to say like, hey, you need to go to Lawrence County where there's a ton of car deer accidents, and you need to increase the number of tags because we're tired of paying out all these premiums on car deer accidents. It's all part of that cohabitation with wildlife, man.
Right. I know. I had a buddy. Well, we just met, but I went out to Montana probably about 4 or 5 weeks ago for work, and he was showing me a video. And I kid you not, Rob, it was like, I bet you it was 200 antelope crossing the road over in Montana. They're hopping the fence, crossing the road. I'm like, man, see, they always say that the habitat or the herd is small. I'm like, but look at these, there's like 200 in this one spot. And he
Yeah,
was like, yeah, he goes, I promise you, man, that's probably all, every deer, every antelope in this county was probably right here.
yeah, and and you do see that. I mean, that's like my wife and I. We drive around a lot. We go for a drive when we have some time off, and you go and look, and you do see them all herded up. I, I'll go back to the shed hunting thing. Like I have partaken in it. I remember when I turned 40, I went on I tend to not like spending my birthdays with other human beings, so I just kind of go do my own thing. And my wife dropped me off on a walk-in area where I knew like almost every deer in the county by where we were living at. Like for a mile long, there would be deer stretched out. We'd see them out there feeding. And she dropped me off, and I bet I picked up 25 antlers, like walking the other end. But I remember there was deer scattering all over because I didn't care. I was like, you know what? I'm out shed hunting. Like they'll be fine. They'll come back. And now those numbers aren't as high as they were, not because of what I was out there doing it, but it's just the population number isn't what it used to be. And some years they herd up way more than what they do other times.
Oh yeah, I know. I went out. I didn't go out this year, but last year I went out a lot, and I know I spooked several deer out of their winter spots. I know I did. I saw them run off. I'm like, man, he'll be back tomorrow, but who knows? They might not come back. They're like,
No,
no,
not come back.
there's human sin over there. I don't want no part of that. So they might run off, and who knows? It might take them a couple of days to find a good spot to bed
Yep.
down in and call home, and who knows? I could have ended that deer's life right there. Who knows?
Yeah. I mean, it's hard. Like, and it's hard. Like, again, as I get older, I just try to become more in touch with wildlife. I mean, I fly fish, so the bad part for me is now from fly fishing, like I catch and release everything. So now, like when I shoot a deer or antelope, I want to go up there and like kind of like, okay, buddy, there you go. Like go run away now. And I'm like,
Don't work like
nope, that
that.
it ain't gonna work like that. But I do. I have this more respect for them because I know what they're going through, and like you just see it, and you just kind of want everybody else to sit back and be more. You want them to be more grateful about this opportunity we have in doing all of this stuff. I mean, are you out there for the experience and the literal like joy of being outside and being in nature? Or are you out there just to pack that freezer as full as you can and get as many likes and follows on your social media as you can? Like maybe it's both, but I think there kind of gets to be like two sides to it.
Yeah, it's hard to determine like who's an influencer and who's an actual hunter. And you can have somebody who happens to be a really good hunter and really care about, conservation, care about the animals, but they got a lot of people that follow them because they put out good content. But then you have those people
Yeah.
that are strictly, I'm out here to put out content. I don't care if it's good, bad. I'm just pumping out content. And it's
See,
and when you look at social media, like Instagram and Facebook and YouTube, it's hard to differentiate with who's who.
well, and I think that's where a lot of these things that are going on, like in the off seasons now, like shed hunting is really big right now. And it's not just because of like the price that you can get paid for antlers. It's filler. It's content filler.
Hmm.
Holy cow, we haven't had a YouTube video up in the last 3 weeks. What are we gonna do? Well, let's go out and shed hunt. That'll fill something. You know, I used to make fun of the guys who did workouts, like they're always working out, giving gym advice and stuff. Now I kind of like go, yeah, let's probably work off some of that winter fat that we all put on, and go do something
Yeah.
like that. But I do sometimes I feel like it's just filler. It's just something to keep you relevant with what you like with what you're doing on social media as a whole.
Oh yeah, definitely. Because I know as most influencers know, you don't want to get lost in the algorithm. Like you don't like you if you spend a couple weeks or not even weeks, a couple days not posting, you get thrown out of the algorithm because I think I saw a status said like there's somewhere between like 5.6 million videos uploaded a day.
Yep.
So if that's the case, then and you don't post in a couple days or even a couple weeks, you get lost. So I can see why these guys want to post that stuff, but at the same time, it's like you know what's more important, posting this video or keeping the habitat. You know,
Well, you know what I think worked for Meat Eater is their filler was food.
yeah,
Like
yo, yeah,
they like processing recipes, doing things like that, and this from when you and I went rifle antelope hunting. Yep, it meant the world to me to see you put that antelope down, like that was a huge part of it. But I think even bigger part, to be honest with you, after all this time,
was
was watching
eating
you come back for your second burger. I'm like, you're
it.
like, I'm
Yeah,
having another one of those because that's why we hunted in the first place. Like that's why
exactly.
human beings hunted in the first place was self-sustainability to eat, and it was good nourishment and stuff versus and a couple hundred years ago nobody cared about some of the stuff we're all focused on right now. And
Nope.
again, I'm not raining on anybody's parade, like, hey, we all got to do our own thing, but I'm just saying, like, I get a ton of satisfaction out of seeing a big old shit ass eating grin on your face when you're eating that antelope, and I'm like, I shot that, I processed it. You and I were running the grill, we did all that stuff. We seasoned it all up a special way. Man, that has so much meaning because I'll remember that forever.
Oh
You
yeah, I
know,
mean, you took out the meat grinder. Saying you had it thawed out, you grinded it up, you seasoned it up, we put it on the grill. I mean, there were so many steps that went into preparing that antelope, and then sitting down and breaking bread. In my culture,
yeah,
we say we broke bread. We sat there, we ate, we talked about that day's hunt and what it meant to us and all that stuff. And it's like, yeah, the hunting was cool, but this is what it's all about. You know what I'm saying? And it always
yeah,
takes me back to like I think about like the cavemen. You know what I'm saying? You had org over here on this side, and then you had this other saying other um you know human. I don't know his name. What we got? Not human, but what were they called? Not Icemen, but come on, help me out.
Neanderthal. I don't know.
Neanderthals. Yeah, they're all out
Yeah,
there and they're like, "Her, let's go hunt. Let's go hunt." And they all
yeah,
go hunt, and then they kill a buffalo and they harvest it and they pack it back to their camp and they sit down around a fire and they sitting around and not a lot of words are being said, but that's good because everybody's mouth is full of food. That's how you know it's a good hunt because they're not worried about meat for the next couple months. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? That's what it's
Had
all about.
had you eaten antelope before that night? I never
Nope,
asked.
that was the first
So
time.
I think if I'd have had like an elk roast laying there and a mule deer and some turkey or whatever, I still would have given you that antelope because I get so tired of listening to people say like antelope is so disgusting. And I'm like, dude, you've never like, you can keep your elk, you can keep your mule deer, you can keep whatever, man, but I'm eating antelope every day of the year.
Yes,
Like,
like
I don't know what
the
it is. I just love that. It's the best for me.
I had my questions because like when I was telling everybody at my stores like, hey man, this weekend I'm going antelope hunting. It was like, why you want to hunt antelope? They don't even taste good. And I'm like, what? It's like, yeah, man, it tastes all gamey and like a goat and da 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 da. I'm like, oh well, you know, I'll see for myself because people told me the same thing about mule deer, and mule deer tastes good to me.
Right.
So
Yeah.
when you cooked it up, and I was like, man, they said it was gonna taste nasty, and I bit into it. I'm like, man, I don't know what kind of antelope y'all been eating, but this antelope right here is super good. This is I'm going back for seconds.
Well, and again, this goes back to like how we operate. I mean, I lived on the east side of the state, and I remember like back when I was in my 30s, I'd see a flatbed trailer pull into uh, Cabela's, and there'd be a stack of antelope on the top of that thing, like 10 deep, and they all still got the hide on them, and they're all marinated in exhaust and I-90 marinade. And I'm like, of course it's going to taste like crap when you get home. Like, man, get that hide off that thing, like quarter it up, do like what you did when you went to go take yours home, like get it cooled off and do all that
Yep.
stuff, and it'll taste amazing. But then it kind of goes to this: don't shoot it if you ain't going to eat it. Like, leave it for somebody else who's going to appreciate it.
Yep.
I mean, if you're going to donate it, I understand that. But if you're going to leave it in the freezer to get freezer burn and then pitch it out because you're like, well, now I can get rid of it, like, don't do that.
No, I'm eating everything, and that's why I have a heart. Like even with fishing, I refuse to like. I know carp are like invasive species and all that. I refuse to catch a carp and kill it and leave it there on the shore because I know there's
Yeah.
people that eat it. I've
Yeah.
actually done like my due diligence, and I found like there's people that work at gas stations that I call on that they eat carp. So if I catch a carp, I'll keep it now and
Yeah.
say, and I'll give them a call. Hey, I caught like 3 carp this weekend. Hey man, hey, bring it to me. I'll
Yeah.
meet you at such and such, and I'll bring it to them, and they eat carp. Like
Right.
I don't want to take anything. I don't want to take the life of anything if I'm not going to enjoy it for myself. And I know some people think that's like crazy, but to me it makes sense. Like why would I go out and harvest the animal and leave it there, or just take the horns or the hide and
Yeah.
leave the meat there? Like yeah, I'm
Like,
sure another animal will eat it, but who knows when it'll be rotted and all that stuff.
yeah, that's like, I don't know, man. There's still guys that are dumb enough on YouTube to say, yeah, I shot it, but coyotes got to eat too. And you're like,
Coyotes
I
can
don't
eat the
know.
guts. They can eat the guts. And
Yeah.
even then, I'm gonna take some of the liver. I'm gonna take the
Yep.
heart. There's some organs that I'm gonna take too because they taste pretty good when you make a taco out of them.
Well, and it's some of the healthiest parts of the animal too, and I mean, I don't know. Like, I've been fly fishing for a while now, and there's two things. Like, my Julie used to think it was crazy that I was catching these trout and letting them go, and then I said, "Well, do you like eating them?" And she's like, "Well, absolutely not." And I'm like, "Well, then what do you want me to like? I'm not gonna kill it and just leave it." And that's why I'm all strictly catch and release on my fly fishing side of it. But if I don't like the way it tastes, I'm just. And there's people who love trout, but if I don't like the way it tastes, I'm just I'm not gonna kill it.
Yeah, I know. What was it? Last June, my brother came up. My brother and my friend Rex, we came up and we went to the Total Archery Challenge. In the cabin we were staying in, the guy that owned it, he has 7 ponds around the cabin that's full of brown trout. And he was like, "Hey, you guys are welcome to fish it as much as you want. Just make sure that you take the barbs off of your hooks
Yep.
and put them back." And I was all cool with it, and my boy Rex was cool. My brother was like, "Man, why would we catch fish and not eat them?" He's like, and I was like, he stocks these ponds, so these are basically his babies. If you want to be honest, there's his
Yeah.
babies. He feeds them all the time. They're his babies, and he's waiting for a certain time where they get to a certain size, and then he'll take them out. He'll harvest them, But we were catching ones that were 3, 4, 5 inches, and it was just fun catching them. I mean, you
Yeah.
throw your line
Yep.
out, and it's a stock pond. You throw your line out, and you reel, and boom, you was catching them. And if
Yep.
we were to keep everything, if we would have kept everything we were catching, we'd have cleaned that pond out. We would have wiped it out.
Yeah.
So my brother was like, "Oh, okay, cool." And after a couple times, he understood what was going on, and it was. And now when he goes out fishing, he takes the barbs off a lot of his hooks. Now he's like, if I don't plan on taking it home, I'm just gonna let it go. It's like
Yeah.
it's like that's supposed to be.
Yep. Absolutely. No, I totally I agree.
Oh, definitely. But I know one of the things that I've had a hard time with, and you've actually helped me kind of get over this hump, is here in South Dakota when it comes to elk hunting, we have a really a long waiting list when it comes to elk hunting.
Right.
With the draw and the lottery. One thing that I never understood when I got into hunting is why do states have a draw system? Like, what's the purpose of it?
Well, I think they do the mathematical equation so that they can look at like what's the population look like and how many licenses can we put out? Like how many can we safely put out knowing that there's also a number that's attached to success rates? It'd be like just bow hunting mountain lions. If you weren't using dogs, good luck with that. The success rate would be like 1% probably, if not less. So they do those draw systems. It helps keep the wildlife and like it keeps everything in check. We're not out over bagging what the ecosystem actually has, and then also like when it comes to elk, we're kind of spreading it out. It's really kind of like it's beneficial to the sportsman because in South Dakota we have to wait 10 years after we draw a tag for whatever weapon it is or sex, bull or a cow. So you're waiting those 10 years. That way you're not coming back and like somehow you're lucking out and getting, a tag every 2 or 3 years because it
Right.
could happen if it was a true lottery system. Um, it's been a good thing. A lot of guys have a hard time with it. They're like, in South Dakota, you're pretty lucky if you draw two, let's say, archery bull tags in your lifetime. But I think that that's a fair number. And the success rate's not all that great. I mean, it's fairly good, but it's not all that great. But that seems about right when you consider elk only inhabit, like, I don't know, making stuff up, 25% of, our state size. They're all
Yeah,
basically in one area.
it's a small area. I mean, it's basically pinned down to what the Black Hill. I mean, it's all out west. So it's like the Black Hills, maybe a little bit what northwest corner.
Yep. Little bit. So yeah. So like up in that Custer National Forest, there's some elk up in there, and occasionally like some elk will get down there in that Gregory County area and stuff like that. I don't know if they still have a license or a tag for down in there. They may. It's like a plains tag, I think, or a prairie tag.
And I know they have a prairie elk tag, but I don't know if it's for Gregory County. I'm not sure, but I do know I met a guy at the runnings, and he said that he was down in Gregory County. He was like, and I said, he goes, I saw a herd of elk. I was like, ain't wasn't no elk in Gregory. He goes, nah, man. He goes, there were elk. He goes, I saw like 6 elk in Gregory. I'm like, I thought he was lying to me, and then I was talking to another guy, and he was like, no, man. He goes, every once in a
Yeah.
while, you'll see elk in Gregory. He goes, they used to migrate that way before they put the dam up over
Yep.
was it Yankton?
Yeah.
Yeah, they used to migrate down that way, and that's actually why Elk Point, South Dakota, has its name because they used to have a large population of elk, but now the dam is up, they don't migrate that
Yeah, it's
way
funny. I've
anymore.
seen pictures of elks, like great big months. I mean, a big bull standing in a cornfield, like a green cornfield, and you're like, that doesn't look normal. Yeah,
Photoshop.
yeah, that's not. Yeah, we're not used to seeing that type of stuff. But our draw system here on elk, like it's always under scrutiny. It seems like it's never a win-win for everybody. It just never is. It seems like there's always somebody who's losing. It could be the landowners. It could be the older guys. I mean, we talked earlier. I know a couple older guys that, man, they're 70 years old and they're still waiting on an archery bull tag, and that's not in Custer State Park. And I feel bad for those guys because, again, I'm 52. It's a lot different for me when I shoot an elk with my bow, or you at your age, or that 70-year-old guy, of the kind of the quality of the hunt.
Yeah.
So, I hate seeing any guys out there that are, I'm just going to say the number 60. that are 60 that have 20 years of preference. Those guys should just be getting tags. Like just give them their tags and make it a culmination of their age and their preference points. I'm willing to sit out for a little while longer. I think people should be let those guys get their draw and get them out of there. And they're just, I hate to say it, but they're done. They're done with the tag system. You know.
Yeah, I saw I follow this page on Facebook. It's called oh South Dakota Western Hunting or something like that. I can't remember the name of it, but there's a lot of guys posting pictures of their elk hunt. This past season. And Rob, there was a guy, and I don't know this guy's age, but just looking at him, he was hitting somewhere around 75, 80. But he was hunting. He had his son, his grandson, his daughter, and I think her husband were all out helping him get his
Yep.
bull. He got the bull. He got the bull. But it was like, man, he got like three generations, helping him get this bull out.
Right. That's pretty awesome though. You
Yeah,
know what
but
I'm saying?
it's a cool ass story. But it's like, man, like, will I have to wait that long?
You probably won't. I mean, I like 2 years ago, I had an archery cow tag because I'm a goofball. Burn up my tags. I can go to another state and walk around with my bow with a bull tag in my pocket. But I ran into another guy, and he was 73, I think, and he'd been for he finally got tired of waiting on a bull, and he drew a cow tag, and it was super dry in the area where we were hunting at, and he hunted for 3 days and bagged it up and went home. He drove back to the eastern side of the state, and I'm like, and my wife and I had both, we gave him our cell phone number. We're like, hey, here's the deal. Like, we'll come down here. We'll help you. If you shoot one, just call us. We'll come down here and help you pack it out or do whatever. Cause I knew that was a big thing for him. And I just hate seeing that. And I mean, I know it's hunting. I get it. And like, that's kind of the way it rolls. But that guy sure donated a lot of money to game fishing parks over the years, and and after 3 days, he gives up on a month-long season. That's his choice. I get it, but I don't know. I would get called out and called the evil one if I ever said like, hey, once you draw that archery elk tag, that bull tag, like you're just done, kind of like our bighorn sheep and our mountain goat thing. But here I am, like I'd kind of like to. I mean, at some point, I'd like to draw a bull tag. I'm sitting out for, I think I have 8 years left that I got to wait before I can even apply again, which puts me up there in age.
Well, technically, you could do the hunt for habitat and draw a tag.
Yeah, that's which is yeah, definitely.
Which is weird because usually they send out a ton of emails. I know last year they did. Like it seemed like every other week I was getting email about hunt for habitat. This year, I didn't get any emails about it, so I figured they weren't doing it. And then when I got onto the new Game Fishing Park portal for South Dakota, if you go to limited tags and draws, it's actually in there. You can buy the tag. And I'm like, I didn't even know it was a thing this year.
I think they took you off their email address because when you filled out that one survey and you said, hey, you guys are a bunch of jackasses. Why? And they read it and they're like, Trey, who's that? Oh, yeah, take him off the email list. No.
I hope not, because last year I bought a significant amount of raffle tickets last year, and now that I know that it's up, I'm going to buy a significant amount until the deadline, because I would love to kind of jump the line to get a elk bull tag, not only a elk bull tag, but you get an antelope tag and any deer tag within the state. So I think that'd be pretty cool. But I mean,
do you fill out all your surveys?
Every single one of them.
That's me too. And sometimes I wish and maybe you can, I don't know. I literally wish the public could access those. Maybe you can. Maybe I should research into that. I'd be really interested to see what people's input. So we really know what's being said about, somebody was like, well, I don't know why you can't drive around and hunt with an open container. Like, I don't care about those. I'm more interested in people saying hey, maybe non-residents should pay more for their tags, or I don't know, just things like that. I really want to hear what everybody else's input is, not a synopsis at the end of the year that comes out in a report. I want to see it. I don't need you to know your name. I just want to see what people are saying.
Yeah, like Hunter 2245 said
Yeah,
this, and Hunter 111 said this. I know actually that'd be pretty they pretty awesome. I would love to look at it. Like the only reason I fill them out is because before like my last job we required heavily on surveys. We wanted people to go and fill surveys out, like, how was this semester for school, what can administration do better to make enrolling enrolling in classes easier, stuff like that. So we relied heavily on surveys. So I'm like, you know what, they wouldn't be asking for this information if they weren't going to use it. So let me take my, this 5 minutes of my day to go and fill this survey out, because it,
yep,
it it helps, especially when it comes to, when they say, like, did you harvest the animal in this county? You want the most accurate numbers possible, you know what I mean?
yep,
And
yep,
and that could be for somebody who say lives on the east side of the state and say they want to come over to, Tripp County or Gregory County and hunt. They want to know, like, hey, how many hunters were successful in this state? Is this a
yep.
place that I want to go hunt?
But and the other thing I'd also like to know is what percentage of people don't respond. And I'm going to be this way about it. Like, you don't respond, maybe like you're not getting a tag. I don't know.
I,
Like
I think
your
I think
input, like,
Arkansas does that.
yeah, like your input is valuable. It's like, I mean, if it's just you, I have this saying, man, and I've had it for the longest time. If if you have an issue with something and you're just going off on it and you don't have a solution, it's just bitching. If you got a solution to it, even if it's the dumbest solution ever that's never getting implemented, at least you're trying to think of things to fix something.
Right.
And I honestly, like, that's always mine. That's always, I always have some type of input when I do my surveys. I'm like, here's my problem and here's what I think you could do to fix it.
Right.
And to see whether or not they do, I don't know.
Well, one thing that I wish South Dakota would do is, like, back when I hunted down in back in my hometown, Texarkana, and over in Arkansas. Whenever you harvest the animal, you have to call that animal and you have to call that tag in. So, say you kill a doe, you have to have a 1-800 number. You call in, say, hey, this is tag 22475. I harvested a doe, and boom, it's on record. Like, all right, we put out this many tags. This tag number here was filled. You
Yep.
have to do it. If you get caught by the game warden and they run that tag and it hadn't, and, like, the tag is on the deer and they run it and it hasn't been posted, you're getting a ticket.
Yeah.
I wish they would do that. And another thing that I wish, South Dakota could possibly get into is in some of the counties in my hometown or home state, you have to kill a doe before you kill a buck.
Yeah. Bag of dough, bag of buck
Yep.
program. Yeah.
And that's especially in counties where they have a huge doe populations. Like, everybody, you get one or two tags. Like, well, if I got one tag, I'm going to use that on the buck, hopefully.
Yep.
But in those counties where you have a huge doe population, it's like, hey, before you go get that buck, get this doe first, and then go hunt that doe. Hunt that buck.
I can see here the issue would be is like, so the guy does that with the doe, and then like an hour later, the guy shows up, and the game warden's like, "Why does your buck have freezer burn on its eyes?"
It was cold, man.
It was cold, man. Like,
It
I
was
know his eyes
14
are all
today.
white and glossy, but no worries.
It was negative 14 today. You didn't see the forecast?
Yeah, it's still got velvet on it in November. Uh,
Right.
you know, I like that idea. I mean, I like literally like I do. I think that's a great idea. And there are certain counties where that would work well. There's somewhere, probably not. Where you and I were hunting antelope. We're like, well, now we got to go drive an hour and 15 minutes away to a check-in station or whatever. But the other thing I've often thought of is I'm not really sure whether it's not like we're not running an app system that, you put the tag, like your issue tag has got a barcode on it. You hit it with your cell phone, scans it, and then like you literally have to take a picture of it. So game fish and parks is getting the lat launch of where you shot it at, which gives them better ideas of where these animals are being harvested.
Ooh, I think about that.
I know some guys are going to say, well, then what happens if they ever sell the information and then they know where all these animals, like whatever, like Onyx could do that if they wanted to,
Yep.
like we always take a risk. And in the past, up until like, I mean, I'm hard pressed to find anybody that's out there hunting that doesn't have a smartphone. That's why like a lot of guys are still, they want to go to the game fish and parks office, pick up the tag, or they mail it in. They don't do it online, and what percentage is that? Literally, like what percentage is that of hunters that are out there? It used to be like, well, some people don't have email. Okay, I guess, and I'm not saying if you have email, you're not worthy. Like, good. I'll be honest, good for you. You don't have a cell phone or email. You are living my dream right now. Like, I want to be you. Unfortunately, the rest of us aren't in that path. But I think something like that would be like super helpful. It'd hold more people accountable. Like, hey, I just shot this right now, and the game warden's like, there should be snow on the ground where you shot that. I don't know why there's like dandelions growing around there. Like, when did
Right.
you shoot that? So yeah, I think there's a ton of ways. I wish our whole licensing system, the entire thing, was just all of our tags and everything were all on our phone. You just had to punch the tag on your phone. The game warden checks you. You just have to open up your phone, and he looks at it, scans it, and he's like, "Yep, you're good to go."
Yeah, I've always wondered, is there like a better way to do it? Like when it comes to like the draw, and when it comes to like reporting animals and getting hunters to actually do the surveys, is there a better way to get people to get involved with it?
We live in a time though, Trey, where everything's incentive based.
Yeah.
So what are you going to give me if I do it? Like, what are you going to give me? And I don't know. Maybe we'll give you a quarter of a extra preference point. I'm not even being sarcastic. Like, you're
No,
gonna get
I was thinking maybe a half a preference point. I
yeah,
was
you get
I was
like a
really
half a
thinking that.
preference point or something, or it puts your name more times into a different limited draw. It's upping you on something else. I don't know. There's all kinds of ways to do that. But this goes back to everything I think like we've all talked about. Until you literally have 100% respect for the animals that we're taking or the fish, nobody's going to get this. Like, no one's going to get it. They're going to keep on always being they're going to be selfish about it. I fill out those surveys, yep, so I have a better hunting experience. But I also know if I say, hey, I found like 15 chronic wasted dead deer laying all over the place, maybe Game Fish and Parks will say, hey, we need to have way less tags in that unit next year.
Yeah.
And I'm helping do the count. I'm literally helping do the count for Game Fish and Parks because I'm telling them, like, here's how many dead deer I saw. And maybe they could be getting duplicated or whatever, but it's still real information that they're getting. And so I do those things so that there is just a better thing in place that is for our wildlife.
Yeah, I know. Last weekend I was out in Newton Hill, which is kind of like south of Sioux Falls,
Yeah.
and I was out turkey hunting. But while I was hunting, I came across three corpses, like three, and the heads were missing. So I don't know if they were doe or if it was a buck or whatever it was. But and also I also don't know if maybe somebody harvested the animal and just packed it out and left the corpse there. But I was like, man, I should probably call somebody about this because it's like three animals within 50 yards that I've come across. Like maybe it's chronic weight disease or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't.
So we hunt in north of Rapid, and I know like they asked us if we would voluntarily send our tags in. And I know I'm kind of going off on a whole other thing here, but
Oh no, I mean, that's what it's all about.
they asked us, like if we would voluntarily send our tags in because chronic wasting disease was so bad in the unit we were in. And my first inclination was like, I told my wife, I'm like, let's just send our tags in. And then I thought to myself, you know, I've been doing this long enough. I'm going to get a gut feeling when we go up there to hunt whether or not we're doing the right or wrong thing. And yep, 200-inch mule deer could come cruising by, or even a whitetail, and all that goes out the door. And I'm like, oh, who cares about chronic wasting disease? I feel like at my age, I'm kind of a little bit more bared down on that. But my issue was, why weren't non-residents told, you have to send your tags back in. We're
Yeah,
giving
yeah,
we're going to give you 100% full refund. If it was preference points you were riding on, you're going to get those back, whatever. But start with that, like, and I'm not trying to be unfair to non-residents, but like, if it was that bad that you're asking your residents to send them back in, non-residents shouldn't have even had the option to hunt in those units.
right. That makes sense.
So um, I know other states, the tag systems like that we have in South Dakota, like they're really like it's really challenging. Like we're a hot deal. This is a hot deal to come hunt here.
Oh yeah,
So many
definitely.
so many YouTubers come here and they're hunting late season mule deer all the way up until the end of December. And they're telling everybody to come here and hunt and like how easy it is. They're even like explaining how the system works and those types of things. And like it's cheap to come and hunt here, and you've been guaranteed a tag as a non-resident for archery all these years. And so I can't go to Colorado and hunt mule deer for less than $500. I can't go to Idaho, Utah, Arizona for the prices that people are paying here. So I'm like, I don't know
Mhm.
why we just haven't. I don't know why we haven't explored the increase in non-resident hunting fees on it, because this is, again, like I kind of bounce around here, but I've said to people, and I'm not encouraging raising South Dakota hunting licenses, the fees. But if they raise the fee to $200 for a resident to hunt archery deer, I know a lot of guys are going to be like, hell no, I'm never going to hunt again. Good luck with that, because you've already got the heroin addiction. You can go clean for a while, but you're going to come back to it.
Yep, you already got that one hit for free. Well, not for free, but for cheap.
Yep, I am going to pay $200 for all four of my family members to hunt archery deer and antelope and turkey and whatever. Like, I'm going to pay that fee because I enjoy hunting that much. And I would hope that that money is going to a good cause and not just to pad somebody's pocket,
Right.
like whatever. Like, it's literally going back to conservation. Like, that's where our dollars should be primarily being spent at, is conservation and helping build more stewardship from landowners and stuff like that.
How what was it? Oh yeah, during your show we did like a month ago. I mentioned it. I was like, yo, if South Dakota were to raise the out of state archery the deer a deer archery fee whatever, people would pay it. Like the guys that come for YouTube and to get footage here, they're going to pay it. One reason is because they want to get the footage. Second reason is they're probably sponsored by some big company, and they can get it wrote up in their contract that hey, I want to go hunt South Dakota. Can you guys pay for my tag? I'm sure they'll
Yep.
pay for the tag to get that footage, especially if you're like, some of these bigger YouTubers, YouTube channels that's got, you know, hundreds of thousands, maybe even a million followers. If I'm a clothing company or a bow company, yeah, I'll pay an extra six. I'll give you a $600 to go hunt South Dakota,
Right.
as long as you put my but make sure you are shooting out that advertising. You know what I'm saying, while you're out there hunting. So like, I don't think people say, well, if we raise the prices, people won't come here to hunt. Nah, I call I call BS on that. People will still come because look at Colorado.
Yeah. Right.
A non-resident elk license is $700. I think 701 is what I paid
Yeah.
because I paid my 25 cents for search and rescue. But
And your success rate is garbage.
yes, the success
Like,
rate
it's
is
a
garbage.
garbage success. And you come
It
here and you're like, actually, the hunting here is horrible. You don't want to come here. All the deer had COVID, and you'll probably die from a rattlesnake bite. So don't come here. But
Yep,
the success rates are,
and the food's not good.
yeah, the food sucks. But the success rate is crazy. You know what I'm saying? And so
Yeah,
it's like, I
it,
don't know, man. Like,
it's wild, but like I said, people will pay it. People go to Card Road and they'll pay that $700 and and they'll do it every single year. I mean, you have YouTube channels dedicated to telling people, hey, if your state is hard on getting an elk tag, go out of state. You know
yeah,
what I'm saying? Even at the South Dakota Bow Hunters Convention, there was a guy and I cannot remember his name and I feel bad because I actually chatted with him. but he mentioned he did a whole seminar on going out of state and how to plan an out of state hunt.
Yeah.
He said, you can go through an outfitter or you can do over the counter. And he explained everything you will need as far as gear, how to prepare for the hunt, leading up to it and everything. He's like, because, for some of us, if you got, and he kind of kept it real. He said, if you got 3 years of preference points and you're 30 to 40 years old, good luck. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm not saying you won't get one, but the odds are not in your favor.
Right.
So we looking to go out of state, and I mean, it is what it is. And if you want to do over the counter, you're gonna pay somewhere, like I said, somewhere around $700. But if you want to go to an outfitter, you're gonna pay still that $700 for that tag, but you're also gonna pay another 35 to $5,000 to hunt a bull elk.
Yep.
You know,
Well, I mean, there's like South Dakota has a mentor tag system for youth. Utilize that thing. Like people need to be get like if you know kids, their folks don't hunt, but they could probably want to hunt. Like take them. Like pay for the tag. Like whatever. It's getting them involved in the hunting side of it. Wyoming, and I don't know if they still have it, but they used to have a pioneer tag. So like when you got to be a certain age, like your tag was like $5 and whatever for like the residents and doing things like that. There's all kinds of things in place that take care of your residents, and your resident hunters honestly have to come first. I'm seeing all these guys complaining about what Wyoming just did with their what moose, bighorn sheep, and whatever. Like I think they reduced the number of tags, and people are just in an uproar. And I'm like, well, kudos to Wyoming for taking care of their resident hunters.
right?
If I want to go shoot a moose in Wyoming that bad, we were talking about like what non-resident guides and stuff like that earlier today. I'll pay it if I want to go bad enough. So
Exactly.
I kind of flop to the other thing is, you live on the east side. Pheasant hunting out west is pretty minimal. It's not the same. Pheasant hunting is really kind of like, I feel it tied more into the Department of Tourism, to be really honest with you. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like if you look at opening weekend of pheasant season, the amount of non-residents that come here to hunt, they flood the economy. It's amazing. I mean, it's a beautiful thing. I'm super grateful for it. It allows a lot of things, but it is so far unattached from all the rest of this stuff. If you raise the price of a non-resident pheasant license, I don't even know what it is because I don't hunt
It's
pheasants.
like three something.
Yeah, like you just increased it by another 25%. They're still going to pay for it because they want to come here. If you have the bird numbers, they will come here.
Yep.
Like that's just kind of how it is. If there's someone that's either in the if the Game Fish and Parks Commission or someone in the state is afraid that people will just stop coming, they're living in a whole nother world because they will continue to come. And I know some business owners in some small towns that'll say, well, if you raise the fees, then they won't come and they won't spend their money in our restaurants and our hotels. Yeah, they will. They don't
They
want to
going
sleep. They don't want to sleep in a tent in 5-degree weather. They are going to come and stay in your hotel. They're going to spend their money. They're going to save up just like you when you want to go to Arizona and go sit by a pool. They are going to save up for it because it's kind of like a vacation. Don't fool yourself. And this isn't like trying to take advantage of them, but this is like flooding more money into our conservation system
right.
and rebuilding our habitat and kind of like playing it out. And you know what? So if along the way there's some people who are like, well, I ain't paying that. Well, okay then don't pay it.
Yep.
That's
More
just how it
more more
is.
business for us.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to go pay $15,000 to go to New Zealand to go fly fishing. Like I'm just not going to go do that. Like that's just me. So you know what? I'll go fly fishing some other place.
Yep, I know. I go hunting out in the winter a lot during the pheasant season and everything. And I can tell you now, during the pheasant season months, that economy booms out there in Tripp County. I mean,
Yeah.
you go to the local Mexican restaurant. I mean, it's packed out every single night.
Yep.
You go to the local steakhouse, it's packed out. The gas stations, you get up at you know, 5 in the morning to go deer hunt. The gas stations are packed. Then you go around like 10 o'clock, 9:30 before everybody get ready to go pheasant hunting. The gas stations are packed. The economy booms. The hotels are busy. The motels are busy. The campgrounds are busy. Everybody is making money. Even which just always kind of ticks me off, but I understand it. During pheasant season, some of the restaurants around there, they have a new they have a normal season menu, and they got it's hunting season menu. They got the
Yeah,
hunting
and
season menu.
the hunt season menu might be a little more spendy than the regular season menu.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. You know, if you like, there's this Mexican restaurant, a Tex-Mex restaurant out in Winter. El Tapatio is my favorite spot. I go over there and I get the I love quesadillas. I love chicken quesadillas, chicken steak, whatever meat. Yeah, you can make antelope quesadillas. I'll eat them. That's my thing. So the quesadillas is normally right around 10, like $10, 10 $11. But
Yeah,
pheasant season comes, it's it's 15 to $20. And it ain't no bigger. It ain't. I was like, oh wow, it costs a little more. Maybe I'm getting a little bit more. Nah, you getting the same amount. But I understand it because it's, hey, we got this influx of people coming in. We got a small window to make a lot of money. So why not do it? And I don't.
yeah.
And it's
Hey,
funny. It's funny to talk about, but I totally understand it. I don't. I'm not hating on their game.
if people are gonna pay it, Trey, then like they're gonna pay it.
Yes.
I mean, as the whole, people don't understand how much people spend on hunting. Like the equipment, like maybe you and I know a couple guys who own some Matthews bows that are a couple $1,000s. I mean, I remember
Like,
you when you
man.
could buy a super black eagle 12 gauge shotgun for less than that. These guys are showing up with over and under shotguns that are super expensive. One sad thing though that's happened though is it used to be like families all got together and they all went out and hunted on the family farm, you know. Now it's I mean, I know that it's still out there, but it's not such a thing because pheasant hunting got so commercialized.
Yeah.
Where guys were like, well, family can come out here, like we'll hunt around Thanksgiving or Christmas, you know, and you're like, no, it really used to be where all the cousins and nephews and nieces and brothers and all, I mean, everybody got together and spent opening weekend pheasant hunting. And we still kind of have that with our resident only pheasant season piece of it, you know, but it's I think it's only public. I don't remember public or private. Like I say, I don't pheasant hunt anymore, but
I think it's only private. I
yeah. And so
No,
it's kind of,
I think it's public too.
is it?
Yep. Don't quote me on it, but I think it is.
See, in one of my surveys, I asked that they rename it like ditch parrots, and they wouldn't do it. They were like, no, they're ringneck pheasants. And I was like, come on, man. I'm kidding. I literally like I used to hunt pheasants living on the east side of the state, but as it got harder and harder to hunt because people were saying no, which is totally their right. I just really lost interest in it as it went on. So, and we just don't have pretty much all the pheasant hunting out here is just preserve type stuff.
Yeah. I know a lot of people are now buying pheasants and throwing them out there in the field, and I was like, well, that's not fun.
I mean, I don't know, like that. So, like, you remember, like, you can go to Wisconsin, go buy yourself a horse trailer full of whitetail deer and go dump them. You know, like, I mean, there's deer farms and things like that where that probably you can't because of chronic wasting disease or whatever. But I mean, you just look at some of the stuff we have, and like sharp tails are kind of on an incline right now. I think like there's a ton of sharp tails. And I know one guy that I know, he told me, you know, this is the first time in probably 10 or 12 years he's had any sharp tails on his place, which is crazy, you know, because I never pay that much attention to it. But no, I mean, raising those fees, we talked about it over on my deal like the last time when it comes to like YouTube. You're non-resident and you're going to come here and you're going to YouTube
Pay that
on
fee.
public land, man, you're going to pay. You're going to pay a lot. Like if that's your job and that's your income, like you're going to pay for it. Like you don't get to come here and exploit what we have and not pay some form of fee for it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when those guys were filming, like before I got into filming, I haven't filmed any hunts yet, but I've been playing around with my camera. My brother, that's what he does. He does for a living. That's what he do for a living. You need a lot of cameras, and I didn't
Yeah.
realize, with all like I thought maybe it's like one guy getting different angles, but no, some of these guys have like 3, 4 cameramen, and you got one guy getting B-roll, you got one guy that's filming, the main guy talking, and then you got another guy that's filming, what I'm saying, um the group as a whole, whatever, to get an extra B-roll, I guess. With all those people out there hunting, all you're doing is you just put more and more pressure on the game. So once you get what you harvest your animal and you pick up and leave, you've left this area just heavily pressured where the guy that lives down the street that wants to go hunting, he's screwed, and
Well, I mean, again, the guy comes here and hunts late season mule deer, and everybody else is like, well, what should I go do? I can't afford to go to Hawaii to hunt axis deer. I'm not going to go to Arizona. So, hey, there's a hot deal. I'm just going to go to Western South Dakota and go hunt. And that guy's making money off it because whoever probably liked it, subscribed, did those types of things. And that guy's making money off of our non renewable resources
exactly.
that as a taxpayer we pay for. So, in the mix of all this, Trey, I'm not saying like, I'm not like, hey, non residents, you're not welcome. You are 100% welcome. But please respect our public lands and our wildlife here the same way that I wish more of our residents did, but the kind of the way we do, because it does, it costs you something to come here. And if you, like you said, you have a couple 100,000 followers and they're all seeing that,
You're
like,
coming.
we have public land here, but it's not as much as you would think. I mean, everybody thinks like we're just a target rich environment for wildlife. I mean, we do have a healthy population of most game, but I don't know. And I really always hope that Game Fish and Parks just stays on top of it with their quotas and stuff like that. I do personally. I wish that non-residents had to draw a tag for archery hunting here, where they weren't guaranteed to come every year, just like they do have to in almost every other state that they're hunting in. Why should they not be doing that here? Um, I keep hearing this really, or smelling this really bad fart floating around that is South Dakota residents here. It may be coming up that we as residents may have to be applying for to draw our deer and antelope and I don't know what other else tags. When it
Yeah,
comes to archery, I do not want to see that. I'm okay with it on the rifle side because you know remember,
your odds are
rifle
higher.
success is high,
Yeah,
archery is
your odds are
low.
higher.
Yep, which is why you're not going to see me advocating for those one things that shoot bolts out of them. I mean, I'm not going to try to advocate to make the success rate higher for anybody. Archery should be hard as hell.
Yep.
Like you should in your lifetime. It's a success if you ate 50% of your tags. Like that was a good existence on this earth bow hunting.
Yep. I know. I ate my first 2 years. I ate my tags. I was like, oh, I got them on the wall downstairs. Like, oh, I ate those. Those are
Yeah,
them
and
all
can you
for.
imagine like somebody goes like, "Well, hey, I got a way to make it easier for you to fill those tags." Well, is that what this is about? Like you probably didn't fill those first couple of years because you probably weren't all that amazing at it, and then
Nope.
as you kind of figured out, you got better. So it does. It's kind of a like we're kind of weaning people out too at the same time.
Oh yeah, definitely. You definitely wean people out because there was a time where I think after my second year, I'm like, do I really want to do this archery thing? Like, it sucks. Like, if I'd have
It's
had my
hard.
if I'd have had my boomstick, I would have laid that those couple deer down. I'd have put them down.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, it makes it once you finally harvest something with your bow, it's like, this is what it's all about. It's like playing golf. You suck at golf, but then that one time you get that, you get in the green, I mean the tee
Yep.
box, and you swing and it's just perfect right out, and then you hit your iron and boom, you get a birdie, and you're like, this is why I play. That's how archery is. It just takes that one time to go out and harvest something.
Well, and I hadn't rifle hunted in years, and finally here, I don't know. I think it was when we kind of moved back to Black Hills. I broke out. I went and bought a new cheater bar, and we all went out and shot deer and antelope with it, and it kind of like took me back to like my passion for bow hunting was escalated so much from that 1 year of rifle hunting. Like it wasn't because I'm not saying rifle hunting's easy and anybody can do it, but it made me really appreciate all the hard work I've had to put in over the years to do my archery hunting, and I'm so much more passionate about it today than I was 2 years ago.
Yeah, it's a I don't know. Like, I don't want to make it easier for nobody. If you archery hunting, you're gonna be using a bow, either using the compound or traditional. And if you shooting that thing that shoot boats, don't come around here.
You know, my 4-year-old daughter, like, I really feel like she needs to be successful in hunting. So why should she have to use a compound bow? I'm going to buy her a crossbow and
No, get
make it
her,
easy.
make her shoot that little 270. She shoot a rifle if she want to get success.
Yeah, you know, like, and that's what we should do. We should make it easier. So, like, during archery season, like, kids can use high powered rifles, you know, like, they have an archery tag and they just quantify it as that. I'm, I want, like, my daughter's 14. It's the first time she's had an archery tag because I knew she wasn't ready for it because it's not a very an emotional thing. If you're super young, it's really not that emotional for you because you really don't understand what's going on.
Right.
When you get to be kind of like this weird age, it's very, I know when Claire finally ends up shooting something, like there's going to be a lot of like arm around her kind of saying like, hey, it's okay. Like, you know, she's going to like, we've all been through it. I think for the most part, it's super tough and challenging. And sometimes I think sometimes kids get going way too early and too easy. And it's just killing. It's just killing. And they don't think anything more of it of taking that animal. So that's kind of a whole nother topic you think you've heard me cover before,
Oh
that
yeah, for
issue.
sure,
So
for sure. So with the we did a lot of talking about like non-residents, coming to South Dakota to hunt. But when you look at our economy right now, you got gas prices are through the roof. Hotel rooms are more expensive, food more expensive. Inflation is definitely affecting our economy right now. Do you think that'll have a effect on the hunt industry as far as people coming from out of state to hunt, or even people that live in state? Are they willing to spend a little extra money to get a deer tag? And or if it's between deer tag and buying food for the for the month, what do you do?
I think there'll be a big increase in convenience store robberies because people will come up with money to go hunting. They're not going to like, oh, you know, Becky, I'm not going to go hunting this year. It's just been too darn expensive for gas. But I'm going to go to the convenience store and knock that place off. And like, we'll have, I think, in all seriousness, that I think there is like, it's going to be a lot harder for that guy who wants to drive here from Wisconsin to go hunting. You know, like maybe they'll save up for it. But it also creates that issue of like our current tag system or the cost of our tags. Like, that might help compensate for some people what they were thinking it was going to be super expensive that they'll now be willing to drive, you know, because the tag makes up for it. And,
Yeah.
you know, but the good thing about living in this country is, for the most part, and especially in the hunting community, just the outdoors community, I don't care, it can be hikers, cyclists, you know, whatever, bird watchers. I think they're a pretty solid culture of people who want to support local people. And I think they know what it takes for these small communities to survive and putting their money into it. I think they'll save up. I think they'll save up and plan those trips and do those things. I don't necessarily see it impacting that so much of it. I mean, but look at me too. We talked earlier, you know, I'm kind of toying around with going down south and trying to go on an odd ad hunt. The fuel prices and that don't stay the same. You know, I'll look at what airline tickets are, and if it just doesn't seem like a sensible thing, I just won't go. You know, I want to, but kind of the cards we've been dealt with at this point.
Well, I mean, if you're going on an all dad hunt and you want to take a partner, I'm down to go, and Uncle RJ Reynolds can pay for pay for the gas.
Yeah, sponsored by MM Cookies. Yeah, right. Like it'll look like a NASCAR vehicle on the way down there.
Driving down, got all the advertising stickers on. No, but yeah, like I totally understand. Like even like I was talking to my dad and my brother about they want to come up here and hunt, and normally they drive because like my dad, he don't want to wait for his meat. He's like, hey, I put this deer down. When I go back to Texarkana, I'm taking my deer with me. He don't want to wait for me to come down in a couple of months or whatever.
Yeah.
So then they're like, man, we don't know if we're gonna come or not. Like if gas prices are high and renting a car and all that, we don't know if we're gonna make it or not. So it's like if stuff stays the way that it is now, we'll have two less hunters, two less out of staters coming. Because I know my dad and brother won't be coming.
Yeah, and I don't want to sound like I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth. I don't want to see that, and I know you don't want to see that either. Like let's just say all of a sudden our state goes, hey, we're increasing the price of non-resident tags $200, and all of a sudden guys are like, yeah, I'm deaf. Like if the fuel price and the rest of the economy weren't that way, they'd pay it. But it's
Right.
like now we're just getting ganged up on. Now it's like it's everything.
And also
You
our
know,
compounding.
yeah. Again, I'm self-employed. We're not suffering or paining, but I mean, I can feel a slight pinch in the keister right now, and so yeah. I mean, there's definitely we can look at it from that impact point that's going to happen and stuff like that. So, and it's kind of weeding through some of it too, of what your priorities are.
Right. And it's like, is there anything that Game Fishing Park can do that can either like help with as far as like not increasing prices? Well, I guess for like residents, like, hey, we're not going to increase prices, or I don't know, like what can Game Fishing Park do to say, hey, we want to ensure that people continue to hunt and fish the way they have in the past, and not worry about the cost of tags and licenses.
Well, I think the one challenge is I think game fish and parks are going to have to look at this year. I think they're going to have to look at like, okay, so gas prices are high and the campgrounds are packed with people camping. Well, I hate to tell you, folks, but you're going to pay more for camping fees next year. Like because people have like it's just showing that people are spending money, and maybe it's not as big of a deal as what we think it is.
Right.
You know, maybe like your family, one person gets a tag and the other person doesn't, but they both come up. It's like whatever. It's trying to just figure out ways of just how to cut it.
Yeah.
I don't know what game. I think game fish and parks are gonna have to sit back and survey what's really kind of going on this year to figure out what they could do next year. Because obviously we don't like, hey, let's do a price reduction in tags. Like we definitely don't want to go that route.
Right.
Um, and maybe some of that is, I don't know. I honestly wouldn't even have an idea of what they could do to fix that. I mean, or what they could do to even help out with it. Because
Yeah.
I'm afraid I don't want to see the whole thing just get wiped out and no one's coming here at all, because wildlife is going to pay for that, because there won't be enough dollars getting generated and revenue to come back in there to take care of them. So
Yeah. I I've always wondered, like, I think was it 2 years ago when South Dakota started doing the habitat stamp?
yep.
But 2 years ago, I wish like Game Fishing Park would put out like a maybe like an annual report saying like, hey, last year, we raised, not raised, but we got this much money off tags and habitat stamps and this, that, and the third, camping and all that. This is where the money went to. We made 50 million bucks. You know, 5 million of it went towards this, 10 million went towards this. Kind of like, and so people can see like, okay, this is where my money, went.
Well, you kind of can, like, there are enough reports out there that you can look at and like, and again, I know a couple of guys through some organizations I've been in the past are really good about researching that stuff so that you can see, you can see where those dollars and stuff get spent. Because yeah, I mean, you would want to know, like, so what exactly are we doing with this?
Right.
How are you spending it? Are you putting in more boat launches? Are you spending more money on non-invasive species on in boats? Which, I mean, these are all important things, but is everything kind of getting funneled around, or are we strictly like just focusing on one or two things?
Right. Well, do like, so for example, say they raise X amount of money on deer tags. Does that money go straight only to deer tags, or does it get spread out all of Game Fishing Park?
It's going to get spread out where the money needs to be allotted at.
Okay.
You know, kind of off on a different bubble though is, and I'm about ready to fix myself so I never draw another tag in this state ever again. But we have a Game Fish and Parks Commission, and no one on the Game Fish Parks Commission is a bad person, but I don't think we need a Game Fish and Parks Commission. They're appointed through the governor, if I'm correct, which I would say I believe so. I don't like that. That sounds like a tie to politics in the whole scope of things. And I'm just really kind of like wishing that the biologists and those guys all had like really the final say. The COs, your department heads were all having more say, and we weren't constantly having to go do all this lobbying crap all the time through the commission.
Right.
Because, and I don't know if you've been to a commission meeting yet.
I have not.
If you talk to enough guys that's what they do, is they go and lobby at these commission meetings to try to like shoot down some of this legislative stuff. It's pretty ridiculous. Like,
Yeah,
it's
I'm
a
sure
lot
that's
of yep, just people agreeing, and then when it goes to a vote, they don't even follow through with what they said they were going to do, and they vote the other way because they're worried about, staying on that commission or doing whatever.
Yeah, I'm sure that's where South Dakota bow hunters, when they go lobby, are they lobbying to
Yep.
the commission?
Yep.
So yeah.
They'll have because there'll be different hearings and things like that through the state. I mean, I personally know one guy who's literally been to the state, and as far as lobbying, felt pretty solid that the vote was going to go against what was being thrown up there for the state that the organization was totally against. And then that guy changed his mind in the last minute and voted the other way because he was worried about reelection status. And you're like, just shit like that stuff. Just because I don't know if you saw the list of all the things that were getting pushed this year for legislation, but there was some really oddball stuff on there. I was like
what?
Trey, here's the deal. I am definitely not going to not get drawn for another tag, but well, you know this one. Like, this one's a little bit safer for me. The one was the crossbow issue,
right? And we got that shut down.
Yeah, and there was like holy hell with that thing. Like, there's some really hurt feelings over that, and I'm kind of mind blown with that. We already have a system in place. And there were some guys that, like, the lobbying, I think, was all 100% done correctly, but there were some people who still wanted to see that thing get voted through and allowed. And I'm like, why? Because you got somebody chirping in your ear that's potential someone that, for reelection purposes or whatnot, like, I don't like that.
Yeah.
Like having, and you can't escape having politics tied to all this stuff. But the less politics you have, the better off we are.
Exactly.
And I'm not sure, again, I'm talking out of my butt on this. I really would like to know how many public landowner hunters are on that commission, or how many of them are just private landowners. Because there's got to be a balance on that thing. There's got to be a mix. If I'm correct, I think I've got a couple friends I know I have a couple friends from Colorado, but they've told me, like, I don't know if there's even any sportsmen on that Colorado Game Fish and Parks Commission. I don't think there's any hunters on that commission.
So here's my thing. This is because I've heard this before. Why would anybody who's not involved in any kind of outdoor activity, hunting, fishing, camping, any of that, why would you want to be on a commission that's what they do? Like, you don't do that particular thing, so why would you have a input in that?
Because your friend Leslie told you that wolves are beautiful and cute, and you should reinstate them in your state so they can kill off all your elk. I mean, literally, it's when people get involved in these things and they don't have any understanding at all about conservation. Man, and I really overused that word today, but like, if you don't understand conservation and stewardship and biology and how wildlife works, you have zero business being on there, because you're acting 100% off of emotion.
Right.
100% off of emotion. There are so many stupid things that are going on right now, like, especially like if you look at the grizzly bear issues in some of these states, man, you should be hunting grizzly bears like there's no tomorrow. Like, I'm not saying make them extinct, but I'm just saying, like, people do not understand how an ecosystem works. They think they do because they watch National Geographic, and
they got no idea.
Yeah. They watched a few Disney movies and stuff, and they're like, they understand how white-tailed deer function. No,
this ain't how it works.
Yeah, the wildlife is it's a vicious thing. I mean, it's not easy being being wildlife, I'm not saying like I'm feeling sorry for them, but like people don't see the ugly side of what goes on out in the wild. And then these people get on these commissions, and you never want your commissions to be based off of maybe somebody has like, I wouldn't want to know that there's anybody running a guide service that's on that commission.
Right.
I'm not saying, I'm just saying I'd prefer that there wasn't anybody on there in that situation because, well, they're motivated by money. It helps them um, helps them with their business, making decisions like that. And I don't know. It's weird, because we have like backcountry hunters and anglers, massive advocates for public lands, right? So they take that whole side, and then you could have a private lands organization. It's all private landowners fighting for more, get rid of all these walk-in areas and stuff like that. And then pretty soon we're just all battling each other. And at the end of the day, the one thing we're not thinking about is how is this affecting our wildlife? We're constantly thinking selfishly about a lot of stuff.
Yeah. You know, I relate like the committee thing to like I love football, I love sports, but like right now you have like the college football playoff. All those people that's on the committee, they never play college football. They never coach college football. So like, why
Yeah.
are you involved in it? It's not. You don't know what it takes to get to this level or whatever. You don't know what all goes into football. You're basically just your mouthpiece for some people behind you, and they're speaking. It's like, hey, get this pass or put this team in number one. We just want to see, and then they go and they vote. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
It's not. No one there really cares. You know what I'm saying? And if you're not a hunter and you're not angler or anything like that, why would you want to be on a board that affects outdoor activities? Hunting, fishing, camping, all that. Why? But
Well,
like you said, it's all lobbyists and no, not lobbyists, but people lobbying and trying to get that get reelected and all that.
it really has the strong odor of not no, it's not genuine. That you have some other ulterior motive, and in the end, some people are really going to be butthurt over the whole thing. And it's probably going to be you and I as hunters,
Right.
because again, if you're appointed to be on the commission and that's politically driven, and then let's say let's say we had a governor right now that just like hunted and fished all the time, and that was great. But then the next governor comes in and says, you know what? Killing animals, that's kind of mean and cruel. We need to knock that off. Well, who do you think is going to be on that commission?
A bunch of people that don't hunt and fish that's going to pass what they want.
Yep. Like, hey, we should reintroduce wolves into South Dakota and the Black Hills. Aren't they beautiful? Like I
Well,
get it.
yeah. And the
I get it.
population of elk gets cut in three-fourths.
Well, look at where we've had to come with the whole mountain lion thing. Like finally, like dogs are allowed, because we just weren't making a big enough dent. The amount of mountain lions in this state is pretty stupid. Like it's pretty high number.
don't
And we
don't
just,
don't tell me that.
well, we just weren't making a big enough dent with our prior system, of guys were shooting too many females and it hit the quota and then the season was over. Well, then once we could start sexing and shoot more toms, and we were eliminating more mountain lions. And I've eaten mountain lions, so it's okay to shoot them.
How is it?
It tastes like pork. I literally fed it to a bunch of people that didn't know what it was. Kind of like I did that Hannibal Lecter thing, I'm like, hey, just try this. They're all eating it, I'm like, what do you guys think that is? And they're like, that is, because of course I made it into tacos, like shredded. And they're like, oh my God, this is so good. It's not dry like regular pork. Like, I go, it's mountain lion. And they were like, And I remember my wife bullfrogging. She's like, oh my God, you fed that to me.
You
Of
already
course,
said it was good. You already said it tasted
yeah,
good.
she already said, and here's the deal. She went back for seconds. So there's another example of like, I'm shooting it and I'm eating it. Like, I don't eat coyotes, but anyway.
I want to try coyote.
Dude, no way, man.
If
Hey, when
I'll
you're
eat a
all when
if I'll eat a bear, I'll eat a coyote.
hey, when you're all done eating the maggots out of that gut pile, can I please shoot you and eat you? Oh my God, this is so delicious. No.
Bear do the same thing. They eat rotten meat and all that.
See, that's why I would never shoot like a fall bear. I would shoot a spring bear because they're eating more berries and grass and stuff, you know.
Yeah.
But it was hard for me because when I was cooking that mountain lion, I made it. I seared it all. It was a loin, and I seared it, and I put it in the instant pot, broke it all down, and I put it in the crock pot, and then I seasoned it all up. But all night long, I kept waking up smelling that, and what was bothering me is the only thing I was ever about to eat that I knew ate other wild animals. You
Mm,
know, like we traditionally just don't eat other carnivores. It's
right.
really kind of weird that way. And then I was like, well, they pretty much only eat what they kill. They're not out on the side of the road, you know, eating up a
Yeah.
dead skunk like a vulture does.
True.
So that made it a little bit more palatable, but it was really good.
Uh, there's some animals out there that I want to give a try, like coyote being one, maybe like a possum, and I believe you can eat what you call it, prairie dog. You have to be able to eat them.
Well, you can, but you get the plague or whatever. I don't know.
If you even if you cook it.
I don't know. Like maybe it's just maybe it's just the federal park system doesn't want you walking through their prairie dog towns. But I see enough of them signs out. They're like, "Stay out of here. You'll get the plague." And I'm like, okay.
Yep. Yeah. I won't. I won't go that
Oh,
way.
I guarantee you can eat prairie dogs. Like I guarantee. Like I don't think there's anything you can't eat. It's just getting it through your head that I'm not eating that. Like me, but so then there's the other thing. Like everybody's like, "Oh, porcupine tastes amazing." I think porcupines are so cool. Like I've never seen a porcupine like get up on its hind legs and hiss and like I'm gonna bite you and kill you. Like they're just like, hey man, leave me alone. I'm all covered in spikes. Just leave me alone.
I'm
And people shoot
chilling.
them and eat them, and I'm like, nah, I don't want to. I'm not gonna kill
Yeah,
you.
porcupine
You,
man. He's always out. He's out chilling. I think I've only seen one in a while, and he was just came out of his hole, just kind of chilling, eating eating grass, whatever, eating worms or whatever, and just kind of just walking down the hillside. It's like,
I literally one time came across one in the middle of prairie and nowhere, and we literally kind of walked next to each other for about a quarter of a mile. Like he didn't care I was there. I didn't care he was there. I wasn't gonna go sit on him or nothing. And I was like, see you later. And that was kind of the end of it. But yeah, growing up as a kid, I didn't always have my mindset. You know, there was stuff that I was shooting, and my dad was like, he'd find out, and he'd be like, "Well, I hope you plan on eating that." I don't know what the statute of limitations is on. I won't even say what kind of a bird it was, but I shot it. My dad found out I shot it, and he made me cook it and eat it. It wasn't a legal game bird. It was not a bald eagle or a hawk.
right.
I can tell you that right now, man. I can tell you that right now. And I was like, "Are you kidding me, Dad?" And he's like, "Nope." He goes, "If you don't learn this lesson now, you're never gonna learn it." You know, and but it's weird, you know. We all shoot prairie dogs, and we shoot ground squirrels, and we shoot stuff like that, you know. But I think some of that's that control for depredation, especially on the coyote side.
Yeah, that's how it is back home in Texas and Arkansas. Is that with hogs, like you'll have guys go out night vision goggles and scopes and all that, and they'll kill 10, 15 hogs a night and just leave them on the side of the road, or just take the back straps off of them and just leave them where they lay. And
Yep.
it's like, like, did you have to do that? But then it's like, yeah, you kill five of them and 15 pop back up. Like you just can't get rid of them at all.
Yep.
So it's like, yeah, I'd rather you take the whole animal, but I totally understand why you're out, getting them.
Hey, is this streaming live?
No,
Can I step out of here for like 2 seconds?
yeah,
Hold on, right back. I'll be right back.
oh, it's all good. Hey, while my boy Rob steps out, I want to let you guys know. Go over and like the Dreaded Archer Instagram page. Um, go over and like the Dreaded Archer YouTube channel. I got to get my watch hours up. I really appreciate all the people that go over and watch it. And watch the video recording. But I know a lot of my people, they go and they listen to it, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and all that. So, go over, check that out. Um, and be looking out for the Dreaded Archer merchandise. You know what I'm saying? I got a really exclusive line coming out. So for the first season of the Dreaded Archer podcast, there are a couple guys out there that they told me stories that really stuck with me, and I actually designed a T-shirt based off each of those stories. And so if you be looking out here the next couple of weeks, I'll be dropping that line. And just know that every T-shirt that you get is going to have every T-shirt order is going to come with a backstory. So it's not you're not going to see a cool design and be like, yeah, that's a cool design. Yeah, you'll get a cool T-shirt, but you're also going to get a story. Um, you know what I'm saying? That gives you kind of like the background of what that design is about and how it came to be. Just give you guys a cool example. My boy Cliff Cadet over at Urban Archery NYC told me a cool story about guys taking public transportation to go archery hunting. So I actually designed a T-shirt of a archer on a subway with his wild game in his bag. So be looking out for that. That's coming soon. And thanks for tuning in. We got Rob back.
I'll
Oh yeah.
explain it to you later.
No, it's all good. No, like me and my brother, we've been doing podcasts for a while, and he always gets up and leaves. It's like, but he doesn't tell me. He just leaves. He's like he goes cut his camera off and leave. So I have to sit here and like talk and try to fill in the blank space. That was a dead time.
Well, I knew they're like, so where I'm at, so I'm using like a boardroom, and I could hear someone just yanking on the door, and I knew in about 5 seconds there are gonna be like 10 people running around out here, and I was like, hey, I'm like I'm using the room for a couple hours, so
Oh yeah.
it's all good now.
Oh, I know. I wanted to tell you. So remember earlier when I was telling you that my company has a little online store that we can buy stuff from.
Yep.
So my boss gave me some points last week. So after I got the phone with you, I hopped onto the store because I got the email. They now have fly fishing rods on there,
Ooh.
and I got enough points to get one. So I'm like,
Guess
I might have to get one.
you better get one, because that would
What?
like that would give you one more reason to come out here. We don't even have to travel that far to fish.
I'm gonna order one tomorrow, or not tomorrow, but Monday morning. I'm gonna order one.
Okay.
What's a good brand? I didn't even look at the brands they had, but what would be considered a good brand?
Fly
Like,
rods are really kind of a weird beast, because like I own a couple Reddington rods, but like, so I do a lot of research on stuff before I buy it. I'm really bad about that. But like I have a Reddington Vice, and I love that rod. Like it's as good as any of the Sage high end rods. It's just like whether you go with a 5 or 6 weight, it's kind of going to be more of it, because you're not doing it like you haven't been doing a ton of casting. So until you get all finicky and about that, I wouldn't worry so much about that. But there's so many, the fly fishing world, once you get into that, it's insane. It's crazy how much stuff there is and how many different brands there are. I never really knew it, because I didn't start fly fishing until, again, it's probably been like 5 or 8 years ago I got into it, and then I really got addicted. And it's easy to start stockpiling stuff like we do in the hunting world.
yeah,
All for something we just throw back in the water.
right. I know. I went out to the outdoor campus a couple years ago, and they had this like I don't know, it was like an outdoors day or something, and they had like little stations set up. So like they did a little seminar on how to clean, fish and how to field dress your deer. Well, they had one where they taught you how to cast a fly fishing rod, and you
Yep.
got to keep your elbow in and kind of. I can't remember how, but after about 15 minutes, I think I had it down. But I know when I go out and actually get in the water and fish for something, it'll all be wrong.
Well, so here's my quick story. So I like to think that I'm good at casting. And so we went to Florida this last year in January, and I had booked us a fly fishing trip with a gal. She's a guy down in Florida, Gabrielle, and she is so awesome. I mean, she's a great gal. We had so many good conversations. But we fished for sheepheads, I think is what they call them. They're like white. They look like a zebra, but they're really flat,
Yeah, I
ugly,
know.
ugly
Yeah,
fish.
fish head, the sheep's head.
Yeah, so we were
Yeah.
fishing for those, like with just using traditional rods because it was super cold out, and she was waiting for the wind to die down, the sun to come out a little bit. And we ended then once the sun came out, she took us back in this kind of like marina where all these boats are in their launches and stuff. But you're looking for black drum, and I don't know if you've ever seen a black drum, dude, but those things are like they're huge, they're monsters, right? And I saw one way off by this boat, and I'm just sitting up there on the front of the boat with a streamer on there, and I knew like I was probably using, I'm gonna say, I don't know, probably like a 10 weight rod. I don't remember. And she stops the boat, and I'm looking at this fish, and he's like 60 feet away, and I'm like, "Do you literally want me to cast to that?" And she's like, "Oh yeah." So I'm trying to double haul, cast this thing, and I'm landing like 15 feet short. And she comes up there and grabs that rod. She's like, lays it right out in front of it. Like, just, I was so humbled. I was like, oh my God. Like, I thought I was good and I'm not good. So, this is the second with fly fishing. You think you got it, you're done. You just move on to the next thing.
My thing is that as long as I can catch a couple fish with it, I'll be a okay.
It is, I mean, it's a pretty technical thing to do, but it's also, I don't know. Julie, she used to, like I said, she used to laugh at me for wanting to do it. Now she fly fishes all the time too, and we just like being outside. And there's a ton of places to go to look at a lot of really beautiful stuff that otherwise you'd never see just driving around in the car. So
Is it only catch and release, or can you catch and keep?
there's areas where you can catch and keep. Primarily, a lot of places where we fish at, it's all catch and release. I don't about the only guided things we've ever done is we do go to Casper, Wyoming quite a bit. We have a fly shop there that we like to fish with one other. Like they have two guides, and they're both super awesome dudes, and we always go back and you're fishing the Miracle Mile and the Gray Reef, which are two of the most amazing trout fisheries in the entire world. And they're all catch and release, great big monsters. I do. There's a ton of places where you can keep them, but I just never research them because I hate trout and I've never fly fished for anything else. I do have a couple places I'd like to fly fish for pike. I think that would be a lot of fun. A lot of guys are getting into fly fishing for carp too right now.
See, I only thought you only fly fish for like trout or salmon.
Yeah, no. Some guys are fly fishing for bass. I mean, literally, you think about a bass. Like if you look at poppers, like when you're traditional fishing, conventional, and you're dragging it across the top of the water and just getting activity. Some guys like there's certain streamers and things that you can use to get those fish to go up and surface and go take it. And it's on a fly rod, so it's such a thinner rod and it's so much longer that the fight on it's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's our son Andrew, the first rainbow trout he ever caught out of a drift boat. It wasn't really a monster, but man, you'd have thought it was going to yank him in the water. Like he fought that thing for like 8 minutes long. It was hilarious watching him do it, and so he's hooked too. It's just the type of tackle that you're catching them on and how you go about doing it and stuff. Well, you and I will. I think we're just gonna have to plan that. We're gonna go over to Wyoming and fish for a day.
Hey, let's do it. Do that, and hopefully get some antelope hunting in this year.
I know. I'm super excited about that. Hopefully this year I don't have to shoot your antelope for you again. It's a good thing we didn't have videotape that. I remember you started crying and you're like, I can't do it. And you're like, here, you hand me the rifle. And then I'm like, okay, and one shot it went down and then you made me clean it for you. I mean, it was I don't know. I don't know who had all the memories. I'm just teasing.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a fun trip. I to this day, and you've heard on other shows, I still talk about it because it was amazing. I loved it.
Dude,
Got to go back now. I'm hooked.
I'll be honest. That one's going to be in my memory banks for a long, long time. And I like that whole deal, dude. At this point, it was meant to be. Like
Oh yeah.
everything was playing in line. Can you imagine we could have shot one of those mule deer that we seen all lined up on the skyline though earlier?
I still think about that because I'm like, I want to go mule deer hunting this year. I'm like, I want to go back out there and see if those guys are still running around.
I,
because it was like eight
I,
of them, and I would have taken any of the eight that were there. Like they all were like nice, class A mule deer.
yeah, and I know I saw at least two of them later on during the rifle season and stuff. So, yeah, you just got to apply and come out, and we'll definitely we'll just go do that. And I think I don't know, there's just a ton of opportunities there. Hopefully, your family can get out here and kind of get in on some more of this fun stuff and see a little bit different parts of the country. So you are applying for elk though this year, right? How many years of preference points do you have?
Three,
3. Okay.
three. I don't know. I even thought about like saying, you know what? I just want to go elk hunting. In South Dakota, I'm cool with burning my tag and getting a cow tag.
And so I mean, I shot mine, my archery cow. Not to deter you, but I always tell the guys archery cow elk hunting is so damn hard. Like, because it's hard to call them in. But I'm telling you though, look at my wife Julie. She never did get one last year,
Right?
and she is freaking addicted. Like she, you think you've seen a couple of those videos I had like that. There was a spike came into us, and I don't know how many times we had a herd bull, a 6x6, breeding cows. Like he was running around in this loop around the outside of him, and he'd get to within 30 yards of us, but we just couldn't get that 50-yard gap closed with Julie on a cow, and it was just crazy. And
Right.
I don't know. I always tell guys that I'm like, you can go bull hunt in any other state and go do that, but more opportunities you can go be out elk hunting, the better off you are. I mean, that's just honestly how I feel about it and stuff. So I would, if I had a couple of years of preference points and I could start applying again for archery cow, I'd probably burn them on a cow tag again and go to Montana or Wyoming or Colorado. So I think that would be something to do.
Yeah, like me and my buddy Rex, we decided that this year, instead of doing over the counter elk in Colorado, we picked a couple counties um that you need at least 1 to 2 years preference points. We're gonna sit this year out, and we're gonna hunt mule deer. He's gonna come here and hunt mule deer, and then we're gonna go down to Arkansas and hunt whitetail and do some duck hunting. And hopefully next year we'll draw one of those units over in Colorado and hopefully get a little extra luck on our side.
Well, I mean, I'll be honest. If you do draw an elk tag, you just got to draw an elk tag here. We got to go. I mean, I'll dedicate as much time as I can to helping you fulfill that dream and stuff because it is so. When I shot my cow, I didn't really know how I'd feel about it, and I was pretty overwhelmed. It was kind of a big deal for me because I'd shot elk before, but I put a lot of work into that. And what really kind of stunk about it was the only day that Julie didn't go with me.
Oh
So
man.
I know I kind of felt like she's just bad luck. I just didn't want to tell her that, but I don't know. It's just so amazing being in the elk woods and just the amount of different stuff that we saw. And I don't know. Are you going to archery antelope hunt this year?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. I got one of those what's it called? Ultimate Predator things that goes on my bow, and it's an antelope.
Okay.
So I can kind of walk out and hopefully get a little closer and put one down.
I think if this drought continues, I think hunting over water is going to kind of be a big deal. And I've never really enjoyed doing that, but I'm really kind of focused on, my kids and my wife getting an antelope this year. So we'll probably do that and stuff. So I had to
Yeah.
switch bow manufacturers up because last year I missed way too many antelope with that other bow I had.
So you had to switch it up on them.
Switch up on them. It's always the bow's fault. It's never mine.
Hey, that's what the people say. I've had guys say, "Man, I spent 3 grand on this bow. I didn't kill nothing." It's like it ain't the bow, man. It's not the bow. if you spent 3 grand, I promise you the bow gonna get it done. It's the person, it's the operator.
I used to work with a guy who worked for Cabela's, and he he had a picture of him. He was wearing like a Nike windbreaker. It was red and blue, and he had a pair of brown corduroy pants on and a pair of Nike Meadow Supremes. And he shot a deer out of a tree stand because he left from work and went and climbed this tree stand. It was a rut, and like he had no other choice to go. And here this dude is in a tree, and he killed a monster whitetail.
In corduroy pants.
Yeah, in a colorful windbreaker. Like, I don't know. Like sometimes we get so caught up in all this stuff, that I don't even really think it even matters anymore. Like,
Oh yeah, like do you ever follow that page on Instagram? It's called like old school hunting pictures or something.
yeah,
Old school
I
something.
think I've seen it. Yeah,
Yeah, and you see those pictures, and it's like a guy from like 1935. He got like a 3-piece suit on, and he's got this deer.
yeah. They're in their duck hunting, or they're doing something. And you're like, what in the world are you wearing?
Why were you wearing a 3-piece Doc Martin suit? But I love those pictures because you see like it'll be like a guy and he has a monster whitetail strapped to the top of his Volkswagen Beetle, and it's like got bungee cords and string all over. It's like, man, this is what it was all about back then.
Yeah, he didn't have no deck system in the back of his pickup with
Nope.
a diesel chip in there, and then he was like Sitka from head to toe, face paint, and
Oh,
I have so many pictures of my dad wearing like a red flannel jacket and a pair of green Dickies pants. Like that
that's
dude
it.
killed more stuff than I'll ever. He killed way more stuff than I ever will.
Man, that's how them guys got down back then. It wasn't all about being flashy. You know what I'm saying? They get up in the morning and whatever they had on. Well, guess I'll go out and see if I can get a deer. Go sit on the stump. Monster come out.
That's my dad and I. Like he'd pick me up from after high school football games on Fridays because he just didn't go to watch football, and we'd load up in the Dodge Club cab. It had a topper on the back of it, and we'd go drive up to Pierce, South Dakota to go goose hunting, freezing cold, sleeping in a couple of they used to always make those sleeping bags. They had like pictures of deer, dogs, or something on the inside of them. They were quilted. And slept in that in the back of the pickup, and then we went out and goose hunted in 20-degree weather all day long. The next day wearing a fraction of literally what we're wearing today when we're out doing hunting stuff.
Yeah, I've always wondered like those guys from back then, if you were to bring them to today's time, those guys are killing monsters with way less stuff than we have now. What would those guys be able to kill now if they had the stuff that we had, the technology?
You know what they would do? They'd slap you in the face and say, "Quit being such a puss. Quit being such a puss. Take off half them clothes. Damn, aren't
Right.
you overheating and all that crap?" We're soft, man. I'm not kidding you. Like, we
Yeah.
are so soft. I look at my dad, and that dude was hard. He was like hardcore tough. And I'm not bragging him up because he was a pain in the ass for the most part. But that dude, like, he could handle the cold, the heat, sit out all day long eating cheese sandwiches. Here we're taking pre-workout before we go hunting, and how many protein bars during the day. You know what I
Pre-workout
mean?
protein,
Yeah.
BCAs, creatine.
Wet wipes. What the hell do you mean wet wipes? There's a perfectly good pair of gloves laying right there.
Gloves, socks. Hell, use leaves.
Yeah. Don't use nothing. What the hell?
You just pull them up. Oh no, that'd be terrible. That'd be so bad. I don't know. I can't. Nope. I gotta use something. I can't just pull them.
Yeah, they're like, I love it. So that's how our social medias come, where you get some guy who would be like, "Hey, what's your preferred method of like when you go out in the woods to go dookie?" Well, I prefer the dry, then the wet, and then I finish with the dry. And I'm like, holy cow, man! Like when that Casey's pizza works its way through you, it don't matter none of that stuff. I didn't have time to grab nothing.
I'm using socks. Socks is always if you don't got toilet paper or some kind of wipes, socks. The socks go first.
Julie would always say to me at the end of a hunting season, she'd go like looking like I'd had a hunting tote, like have all my hats and gloves, and she'd be like, "Why are all these left-handed gloves in here? Where's the matches?" And I'm like, I don't know.
If you only knew.
Yeah, I'll save them, honey, and bring them back for you. Yeah, no, it's like it's changed so much. I'm not even gonna say who he is. He'll hate me, but the guy won't go hunting with me. He will not hunt with me for one reason only, because he won't let me. If we went hunting and like we did a backcountry deal, he'd have to take a bucket with us to sit on to go dookie in, and have one of those lid things that like this is like a toilet seat that fits on there.
Yeah, I seen him at Walmart.
Yeah, he literally he goes. He just will not go outside. So I don't know. I guess he
You,
doesn't get to go with me.
I mean, you got your bucket. You're already sitting outside. Just remove the bucket and same thing.
Isn't it invigorating? Like it's like the natural passage of time. Like you're one with nature when you can go do that,
Oh yeah, that's what brings hunting all together right there. Like
right?
it brings it all full circle, all the way back to the Neanderthal days. Like just being it's
I cannot believe you haven't had any recollections of our antelope hunting trip yet.
anyway.
I can't believe that one special memory hasn't come back from our antelope hunting trip yet. I had to let you go walk ahead of me to go back to the pickup,
Oh.
and you're like, what'd you hold on to? There ain't even any trees out here.
Yeah.
I take yoga. I know yoga.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, I need the bathroom. I'm like, what you hold on to? Like there was no trees, no fence posts, nothing. You just squat down.
You just need a little bit of slope, a little bit of hill, and you're good. 2% grade, you're fine.
Remember that 2% grade is all you need.
See, this is the stuff that like literally it should be more like social media content, like just shooting the shit about
Yes,
this stuff.
that's what it's about, man. Just and having a good time. I think a lot. It's gotten really commercialized. Everybody's trying to sell you something, we've gotten away from just you know the story of the hunt is cool, but it's those little things in the middle that make it worthwhile, that you remember forever. You know what I'm saying?
So Karma came. Remember that day when we got back? Karma got me because I'd been picking on Sitka all day.
Yeah.
And I pick up that 12 pack of Bush Light at the friggin' convenience store that's got the Sitka camo on it, and the whole thing falls all over the floor. Because I was gonna make fun of it. I'm like, yeah, here's some more of that Sitka stuff I was talking about. The
And you
cans are,
picked it up and it just
oh my god, yeah.
they got your money that day.
I'm glad you took it home with you,
I did I?
or maybe just drank it all. I don't know.
No, I took them home with me. Yep. It was in the back. I remember. Yep.
Well, yeah,
No, they sat in my refrigerator for the longest time because I'm not a big Bush Light fan. Yeah, not a big Bush Light fan. So it was like one can maybe a week, one or two a week till it was gone.
eventually probably like let's just join forces and we'll just start doing a cooking show. It'll be all wild game cooking.
I'm down. I've actually I thought about that because like I've kind of gotten my bread recipe down. Like
Ooh, I forgot about that. Yeah.
my sourdough starter is good. It's rising, falling. I feed it every day, six a.m. in the morning. Every day gets fed. So I want to do a video where I show people how to make sourdough bread, big loaf. Then I make some deer chili. I'm gonna cut a hole in the bread and then use the sourdough bread bowl with my deer chili.
And then the next morning you have to go find a 2% grade.
Yeah.
Deer
Gotta go.
chili. Deer
Yep, deer
chili,
chili.
Bush Light, and a Mountain Dew, man. You're fixed. You're good for life.
That's it, man. Oh man, I
That
saw
would be
some.
awesome. That would be awesome.
So I, I don't know. I get nervous being on camera. Yeah. Oh, by the way, I've finally finished. You know that post I did of like the whole editing.
Yep.
I finally edited my South Dakota bow hunter convention video. So
There's probably a lot to that. I mean, like just a lot of content and a lot of like
it's a
and it's
lot.
hard when you're at something like that and there's so many moving parts going on
Yep.
that especially some of those guys they might not be all super comfortable because they've never done it before and they don't
Mm-mm.
know how to feel about it.
Dad and I didn't know how to get like I thought I'm just gonna film the people I talked to and that's it. My brother was like, "You didn't get any B-roll." what's B-roll? Like that's just taking video, just stuff that's going on and like filler. Like nope, didn't get none of that. And it's like so it's like he's like because he's already watched it. He goes, it's a pretty good for your first try. Your first go around. You'll get better at it. So
Well, and I think, next year I think it's pretty close to you again. If I remember right, I think it's maybe in Yankton.
Yankton, yep,
Yeah, I think that's where it'll be at and stuff. And there's so much good information there. And those guys that are on South Dakota Bowhunters Association, I just think even next year, just give them a little bit more pre-warning and throw them on there. And they really are. I honestly feel like they have the best interests of South Dakota
oh
hunters
yeah. I'm a member
ever.
now. I paid my
Yeah.
dues. I'm a member. I'm a member now. So
I
I
can't
love
even
it.
think of how many times I've heard those guys just in discussion looking out for what's viewed as maybe what's best for like rifle hunters or trappers or fishermen. Like it's just not like they're not just dialed in on like, hey, it's all
Bow
about bow hunting and screw everybody else. It's literally about like how to it's working harder for it to be a win-win for everybody involved,
right,
including wildlife.
dude. I love it. That banquet was pretty cool. Uh, the the keynote speaker Ray Howe, that was one of the most powerful speeches that I've heard in a long time. And looking around, there wasn't a dry eye in the house. I mean,
Yeah.
he really, you can tell, like listen to him talk. Hunting saved, like literally saved his life, and it was like that was cool. Some of the seminars, like Finn Cat Finn Casterson, he did a seminar on using uh, using goats as pack out animals. So if you don't got a horse, you don't got a llama or alpaca, none of that, get you a goat.
Yeah.
And I was like, how did I know that was even possible? And I was like, you might need 10, 15 of them, but they'll fall right behind you.
Yep. Yep.
It was a cool thing, and just chatting with some of the guys and hearing how far along South Dakota bow hunting has come. Because I didn't even know that at one point in time, if you was bow hunting, you got just one tag, and or first there was no season at all, and then you only able to get one tag. I think that was in the Black Hills, and then they was able to lobby and get people to vote and get
Yep.
more, they get more stuff added on to the season. And it is what it is today. And there's a lot of guys that played a key role, in that process. And it was just cool to learn about it.
Well, I think it's kind of I think it's definitely along the lines of your podcast, and there's some others that are out there of like really what you're doing is I honestly you're doing an amazing job of bringing light to hunting and the outdoors and just getting people involved and from a bunch of different aspects of like what's going on in the hunting world, because hunting is kind of one of those things that does bring people together.
Oh,
and
definitely.
and what I hate is because of politics, it's gotten divided. Like, I mean, like let's just say legislative stuff within the hunting world and fishing world. It's created this like it just raises hell with stuff, and then it like people become divisive over it.
Yep.
Bow hunters against rifle hunters, trappers against hunters, private landowners against public hunters, all of that. Like it just continues, and hunting should literally be a tool, like you said early in the beginning. Like, hey, we're like this brings us all together. We're all eating something or enjoying it or having a story to tell, versus like how much money did it put in our pocket or things like that. I mean, hunting brought you and I together. I
Yep.
mean, that landowner who let us antelope hunt, we probably looked kind of funny pulling in the driveway. I mean,
But he was cool, and I want to go. I want to go back and just chat with that dude a little bit.
yeah.
Yep. Chat
I
with
think
him,
it's,
and
it's funny. I mean, it's so funny. I know you've told it like there's you and me. We're gonna do like we're doing the quarter out. We're gonna quarter that whole thing out, that antelope. And dude rolls up in his pickup and goes, "What
yeah,
are you doing?" And we're like, "We're quartering out, and we're throwing it on backpacks." We spent all this money on backpacks, and he's like, "Oh shit, throw it in the back of the
right.
truck." Okay, you and me bouncing around in the front of the pickup, going back to the truck. And we stand there and we talk forever. And
Yep.
I don't know, like hunting is just such an amazing thing, and I think until people figure that out, it's like I don't know. I can't say don't use it a platform because that's what you and I are sitting here doing right now. I mean, but like use it as a tool to make it better. Do it to make the world a better place. And I think then that's a win-win and no one can take that away from you. When people are just doing all good, there's no room for complaining or nitpicking. Like because you'll have so many people standing behind you that'll take care of it for you when someone says something negative.
Exactly. I've talked to several people that they have their views on hunting and what they think, but when I tell them like, yo, like with all the bad stuff that's going on in the world right now, like I don't see any of that when it comes to the hunting industry. And some people disagree with me, but I don't see it. Like it doesn't matter what background you come from. If you are walking on public land and there's another guy walking to his truck too, and y'all could be from two totally different backgrounds, but y'all both out on public land, y'all both hunting, and y'all will sit there and talk for hours about what you saw, what you didn't see, how the season going. Hey, how'd you do last season? Well, and this thing you know, y'all there for 3 4 hours talking, and it was all because y'all both were out hunting together. And for that, hour or that hour and a half, 2 hours, race, religion, none of that stuff matter. Y'all just two hunters. They're talking, and to me, that's why I started this podcast. It's just hey, for the next hour and a half, 2 hours while we're doing this podcast, let's put all the other BS to the side and get straight down to the nitty gritty.
It, and I know like when you and I are hunting, I'm not a white guy and you're not a black guy. We're hunters.
We're hunters, man. We're
We're
hunters.
hunters, man. And like you and I have had some pretty deep conversations that would probably drive some people freaking absolutely crazy on both sides of the spectrum. They'd be like, "Holy shit, you're both selling yourselves out." No, we're not, man. We're like, I'm. How old are you now, Trey?
32.
Yeah, you're still old enough to be one of my kids. But like, dude, man, I love the conversation, the time that we have together, and that wouldn't be possible if it wasn't for hunting. I mean, I'm not saying it's not. You know, if you would have walked into my business and I didn't know you from Adam, I think at this point in time, I would have still engaged with you the same way I am today.
Yep.
Because there's more people out there that are just loving and caring, such as yourself, than the others that are out there. And we really have to start to amplify who we are. And like, this is the good part of it. Too many people want people out doing things that they don't want to go do. If you don't want to go hunt and fish, stop trying to make people go and do those things. If you really like, you came out here and we went hunting and stuff, and there was nothing more than that. Like, we just went hunting. You didn't have any fears, any worries or whatever. If you really want to do something, you will do it. If you don't, they're just excuses like why you can't. And like, you just got to go through with it.
Yeah. I've argued with people about that. Like, oh, hunting ain't for us, or hunting ain't like, nah, hunting's for everybody, man. Like, there's nothing stopping you except you. Go and do it.
That's how we all got here.
That's it.
Every single human on the face of this earth got here through hunting, fishing, and gathering.
Yep.
Like, it's always been that way. And yet, like, I don't know, obviously my social media is private. I shouldn't say obviously, but my social media is private because sometimes I get a little mouthy. But like, man, I'm always open. Like, anybody wants to come and fish and whatever, like, that opportunity's there. And I know the same is with you.
Oh yeah, and I'm down always.
I mean, everything I typically always hear are like, I just feel like they're kind of excuses. They're excuses. And if they're like, hey, let's face it, man, there's bad apples out there. There literally are. Yep. All sorts of people are bad apples. And it's up to guys like you and me and all the other good people to like weed them out and like call them out on it. Like, literally call them out on it. Like, I've had people say, hey, I just don't feel welcome going fishing there. And I'm like, well, tell me the example of why you don't feel welcome fishing there. And I'm not saying that it doesn't happen, because I do know that it happens. But then you got to tell somebody about it. Then you got to do something about it.
Right.
Like, you need to tell someone that like can make a difference and make a change in those types of things. Because I'd like to think, I don't feel like I'm living in a fairyland, but I feel like you could have went any place where you and I went that day antelope hunting, and you could have talked to anybody up there and never felt like in any danger. But I've went to houses like, and I've had landowners go off on me and freak out on me, and they're probably going to freak out on you, but it has nothing to do with anything else other than they just freaking hate hunters.
That's it.
You know,
That's it.
they've had bad experiences with hunters. And they just have nothing to do with it. So, and that's a big difference from what people think is really actually, you know, keeping them from going out and doing that stuff.
Yeah, a lot of people take it personal, like, oh, he didn't let me hunt because of this. It's like, nah, you just a hunter, and he didn't want hunters on his property. That's all it boils down to. It got nothing to do with nothing else.
I mean, and if like, I think we're all too like all too little sensitive sometimes, and we want it to be like. My wife will only say that she's like, I'll say, yeah, I don't think that person likes me very much, and then I'll tell her why, and she's like, he just don't like people. Like he treat. I've seen him treat other people like that. I'm like, yeah, you know, you're right. So it's not about my long hair. It's not about, you know, like I'm an old grumpy old man already. You know, like it's none of that. Like that's just that dude's character, and I can't take it so personal. But people should feel safe. I mean, I don't know. It almost kind of it saddens me a little bit when people are like, "Well, I don't feel safe out being out in this place or that place." And man, I think I would definitely want to know if there's people that are out there that are making people feel unsafe, because that just pisses
I
me
know.
off.
I like. I want to run into some of those people and and see if it's real. Like, are there actually hunters?
I want to
out
be
there?
with you. I
Yeah,
want to be
yeah.
with you.
Are there actually hunters out there that's like walking around saying, if I come across a guy that look like this, I'm gonna tell him he don't need to be hunting. Like, I don't think there's that. I mean, are there people out there? Probably, but I bet that it's so small. I bet it's less than 1% of people. That's
They
out
could be
hunting.
thinking it in their head. We can never control how people think in their head. What we
Right.
really need to be focused on is what they actually do and what they actually say.
Yeah.
And I'm going to guarantee you, holy cow. I mean, if I knew over the years what people were thinking in their mind about me, my self esteem would probably be pretty small, but I don't. I mean, I live my life off of what people are actually saying and doing. And
Right.
you're right. I mean, if there's a dude out there that's literally willing to shoot someone over, I mean, we keep skirting around it, but they're going to shoot someone based off of how they look. Well, that POS was going to shoot somebody anyway.
Yeah. Regardless if it was hunting or not.
Yeah, I mean, you'd shoot somebody stalled on the side of the road. You know, like that's just they're just a bad apple
Yep.
in the whole mix of things. And I don't know. There's way too much good out there to eliminate people from coming out and wanting to go do these things. I think I told you this story. You know, I went fly fishing one time, and I was walking on the creek, and at one point in time, I could smell the smell of a cigar. I was downwind, and I started walking back towards where my vehicle was, and there's this old white guy wearing his $400 expensive cowboy hat on. And he's got the old fly fishing vest, you know, and his waders. And I had this long hair, and the look he gave me, man, was like, who's this hippie girl coming walking by my creek? And I'm like, that dude, like that, I'm white. And that dude saying that he's like, when I said, hey, how's it going? He's like, you know, grunts. And I'm like, okay, whatever, man. Like, don't drown in the creek. But like, he's just a tool, you know? And I'm like, and I'm the same color as that guy. So
Well, see, he probably thought that was his private. He was the only one that ever knew anything about fishing there. When them people they don't realize, hey, the same way you found this public land is the same way everybody else found it.
right, like 100%. And I don't know. Maybe I am, dude. Maybe I am living in a fantasy world. It means the world to me that you and I have the friendship that we have, because I feel like it's not like we've cut each other's fingers and crossed blood so we can say we're blood brothers, but
Right.
dude, I would do anything for you. You know what? Like, it's because I got to meet you. You're a good person. You got to meet me. I'm an okay guy. And we like,
Shoot, he was a
and we
great
have,
guy.
and we have a friendship. We have a friendship. And we've had, like, again, some of these conversations you and I have had over time. I didn't know how comfortable I was going to be about having them with you. And I don't know sometimes how comfortable you were going to be about having them with me, but hunting opened up that door for you and I to have
Right.
what we have going on now.
Man, like for me, it's just having conversation. Like I feel a lot of times we all get our pennies in a bunch because we are afraid to talk to people. We're afraid to have conversations. There's nothing wrong with having a conversation, regardless if the topic is a pretty deep topic or if it's whatever it is. If you feel some type of way about it, talk about it. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And that's the only way you're ever going to get past that issue if it's even a problem is just talk it out.
Well, it's talking about it. I got a little crooked there. It's talking about it and then be willing to be open minded and objective to it and wanting, no matter what, wanting the outcome to be positive versus trying to find, like, see, I was right. This is what's really going on.
Yep.
Instead of that being like, okay, yep, now here I found another one that's a super good person and you're now in my circle. I mean, that's kind of like how it is. It's, don't get me wrong, man. I've been around plenty of people that don't have nothing nice to say about people.
Yep. And
And
that's just how they are.
it's just that, like, that's, I mean, like probably the fifth time I said it right now. Like, that's just who they are. And you ain't going to change it. You're not going to create a law that changes the way they think. You're not going to give them a lobotomy. You're not going to go take them out in the creek and beat them to death. Like, that's just how they are. And until they weed themselves out of the gene pool and go meet their maker, you're just going to have to deal with it.
That's
But
it.
there's too many other good people out there that you're passing by because of that one or two clowns that you're running into.
Well, that's what we do. We amplify the negative stuff, but we hardly ever talk about the positive. It's just like if you go to a restaurant and you had a good time, you don't tell that many people. But if you go have a bad time, you're gonna tell 10 to 15. That's what
Yep.
happens.
Yep. And I don't know how to change that. I mean, that's just human nature, how it is. And like, because we work really hard at burning people down. We work really hard as a culture to do that. You know, I mean, I had somebody call me an old douchebag not that long ago on social media because of a statement I, yeah, it was kind of a comment that, like, I hadn't said anything derogatory on the crossbow thing. I just asked, like, so what are the age limits on this crossbow thing going to be? Because if you want to make it for like 4 to 8 year olds, lobby it. If you get it passed, whatever. But if you were going to make it like anybody could shoot a crossbow during archery season, I was like, nope, I'm not going to agree with that. But I never even got to that point of saying that. The dude just fires back at me like, he goes, "You're just a crusty old douchebag." And I was like, holy cow. Like, how did you so quickly go from us having a conversation to you jumping to that conclusion? Because that's not what I like. In all reality, maybe I was being that way, but I didn't feel like I was.
Right.
I feel like I
F-
was just asking a legitimate legal question of, like, what are the age categories? Because we already have, like, if you have a disability, you can get a crossbow license at any age. So, like, the guy just kind of fired back on me, and I was like, well, it's whatever, man.
well,
Like,
you was challenging something he believed in, something he wants, and people don't like
yeah,
being challenged.
yeah.
Like that's all I can think of.
It's it's all I can think of. I mean, unfortunately, I will say this right now because I don't think you and I set out to have this conversation on this. But I bet there's people that are probably kind of PO'd that you and I like. Probably none of your followers or whatever. I don't know, or maybe it's somebody I follow, but somebody that wasn't very happy that you and me were out hunting. There's going to be people who think like that,
Yeah.
and the reality is, you know what? You and I don't give a shit because until they like screw with our hunt or do something like that, then you and me will we'll address it at the time. But that's like, I don't sit around and focus on that or dwell on it, but I am pointing out the reality that there probably is someone out there that really bothers them. It could be from your culture or my culture.
Oh yeah, burn their cookies.
Yeah.
Hey, I get it all the time. People tell me, especially around here, like, bro, You ain't supposed to be out there doing all that white folk stuff. I'm like, what's white folk stuff? Hunting. All that
Mac
white
and
folk stuff,
cheese,
man.
making
I'm
mac
like,
and cheese in the
bro,
microwave.
like, bro, that's not white folk stuff. It's there's no race when it comes to hunting. It's just we're all hunters. You can go hunt. You can go right now, get on your app, and you can buy you a fishing license. You can get you a tag. Go do it. But it's like,
It's like you got to let me know. Like you got to let you and I start a platform, but it's like we want you to all go through this process, and then please let us know when it stopped, like when it was no longer doable.
yep,
Like, well, I went to the bow shop and I thought he was going to tell me I couldn't buy a bow, but he let me buy the bow, and he even helped me set it up. Oh shit. Okay, well, we're going to keep on going. And then pretty soon, like you're talking to a landowner, and then it's laying there. You killed something laying on the ground. You're like, yeah, you're right. Like there was nothing getting in my way. You went to the gas station and got gas. You like, I mean, and there's situations like that I'm uncomfortable with too, that I've had in my lifetime too, where I was like, kind of like, like whatever, it doesn't matter. Like nothing gets in my way. I've
right.
literally, I've listened to some of your podcasts. No, I've listened to them all.
Appreciate
Yeah.
it.
Hey, I've been out fly fishing by myself, and I'm walking on the trail, and I'm like 3 miles from the parking lot, and I'm walking back to the vehicle, and I've come across two white guys, and the hair on the back of my neck stood up. Like, for the record, I carry all the time, but like my red flags were going off. That happens. Like there's that's me saying like I bet I turned around a dozen times after I walked past those two guys because I could tell they were up to like no good. But they're out on a Forest Service trail where I was at. And like that just goes across the board. Like that is out there. That's out there for all of us to like we're gonna have that. You could be out there, Trey, and run across a couple people of color
Yep.
that is like, I'm not liking this. Bad apples. It's bad apples. It's not race. It's bad apples.
That's it. And sometimes you can just tell you like and that's just our animal instinct in us. It's just my senses are going off. Something don't feel right, and you just kind of just keep walking. And now if they speak, hey, how you doing? Hey, how you doing? And I keep on walking. But if they want to stop and have a conversation, I'm down to have a conversation. But if I feel like my guard is up, I'm gonna keep my distance. But we'll still talk.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just I don't know. We live in a world right now where everybody wants to be either victimized or uh they feel like everybody's out to get them, and it's just
But like our situation though, man, like it's like we're a ray of hope. I
yeah,
mean, I'm not putting us up on this pillar of being like, whoa, look at us. I'm just saying, like, hey, if this is possible, tell me how it's not possible for you, and like, give me examples.
it's a proof source.
Yeah, if some dude says, hey, if I ever catch you out there, I'm gonna kill you because you're a person of color, and they sent you an email or a message, I'm sending that shit to the FBI, and they're gonna go and prosecute that guy for a hate crime.
Right?
A hate crime. There's laws developed just for that. But you're gonna sit here and be like, well, some guy said he was gonna murder me. Okay. Well, holy crap, do
Well,
something about
yeah.
it. Like,
Where did they go? Like, how did the email get sent, and then it stopped with you, or did you go pass it off to somebody and they say, "Oh, sorry, we can't
now
get you
you
for
go give it to somebody and they say, well, what do you want us to do about it? Well, there's plenty that you can go do about it.
Yep.
Then it kind of becomes an issue. Like, and that's, I don't know. There's enough sources out there now that to go and handle that stuff. And I know I'm kind of living here in our kind of push part of the world, where we don't see all the other things. But you and I had those conversations about like people just need to lift up off the ground and go take off and go do these things. And
Yep.
it's all races. It's all races. Dude, I've lost like almost 60 pounds. There's so much stuff I didn't do until I told my fat butt to get up off the couch and stop doing what I was doing so I could enjoy my life. And it was preventing me from doing so much stuff. We all have these things that sometimes they're legitimate, but more times than anything else, they're just an excuse, or we're being led to believe that this is just how it is and it's never going to get any better.
Yep.
I don't
Man.
know.
Hey man, that's you said a whole lot right there, because a lot of people, they use whatever situation they're in, they use it either as a crutch, or like, well, just use it as a crutch or an excuse not to move forward. It's
Yeah,
just, oh, I'm too fat, so I'm not gonna go to the gym because I'm already too fat. No, take that first step and get to the gym. If you can walk to the grocery store, you can definitely walk inside of a gym. You good.
100%.
You good, man.
100%. I
And
think
once you,
well, go ahead.
I was saying, and then once you get in there, now you jump the hurdle. Now the next hurdle is get on the machine, and then once you get over that hurdle, now it's just making it a routine.
So sometimes, like, I have these conversations with people. I get really pissy because I lost a bunch of weight. Like, I literally was passing up deer, not shooting them because I knew I couldn't pack it out by myself. It was just going to be a train wreck. So I'd just be like, it's not close enough for where I want to shoot it at. I can easily get it out. Because I'm mad at myself for the decade and a half that I wasted getting, like, being in that situation, is why I get so passionately not mad, upset at people for not doing the same thing, no matter what the situation is.
Right.
Because I'm like, I just hate seeing people be in that situation. I want to see people living life the way it was meant to be. I live life the way it was meant to be, not the way a politician made you feel it was, not the way, like, these people over here, these people over there, like, however, like, they want you to think of how it is. It's how you were given the opportunity to live this life. And so get out there and go, like, just go and enjoy it, no matter, like, no, I don't care if it's going and playing tennis. Like,
Get out and enjoy it.
just get up and go do it and stuff. And if there's bad apples out there, man, like, call them out on it. Like, literally call them out on it or bring awareness to it. But I've never seen a sign anywhere I've ever hunted or fished that says, this is the only group of people that are allowed here. This group of people are not allowed here. I've never seen a state, federal, any type of government sign that says any of that. And if it does,
Better be calling somebody.
you better be calling somebody about it.
somebody.
You better be calling somebody about it. So by not going out for fear you might run into that one ding dong that's out there, that's that bad apple, like, that's not a good enough excuse, because there's enough serial killers out there. You and me run into one of them probably more frequently than that other bad apple.
Or you would run to him at Walmart. Oh man. But Rob, I appreciate our time, man. We did over 2 hours, man.
What's
You
your longest one so far?
three, like three and
Jiminy
some change.
Christ.
3 and some change. Yeah. Me and my buddy Alex, we just got to talking and we just rolling.
We talked about it before, man, and I know you're going to cut it, but I think what we need to do is, it would be so awesome for us, maybe, like, next spring, set up like a turkey camp, and just do a turkey camp with the wall tent and get some people together and just, hunt, eat, do a little consuming of beverages and talk about life, and I just think that would just be,
And cookies too. Cookies.
and some cookies too. But I just think, like, just bringing some people together. Yeah, like,
yeah,
Rob, you didn't bring cookies? I hate you, Rob.
Me and my buddy Rex, we were actually talking about investing in a wall tent with a kind of like a stove, like a wood stove. Because he found something on Rock Slide. It was like a portable wood stove wall tent, and it's like, that might be the route to go. And I want one as well. Just,
well, while you're sleeping in that, I'll be in my Sprinter van, laying on my memory foam mattress.
How is that going? Is it almost done?
Dude, no, it's so slow moving right now. I've got so much more stuff to do to it. Like, and next week it's supposed to be getting some more stuff done to it, but I'm hoping by the time archery antelope season rolls around, I've kind of that's going to be my solution to the gas prices. I'm just going to go drive in park and stay in it for a week and just hunt real hard. And then instead of driving back and forth to town all the time.
I feel
So
bad, because my buddy Rex, he asked me, he goes, "Man, how's your friend Rob's van coming?" I said, "Shit, I'm almost done with it."
yeah, Rex, it's almost done. Just gotta wash the wheels and I'm done. No, it's got a way. It's got a ways to go. It's like, oh my god, it's super cool. It's because they're not making them in 4-wheel drive anymore. So we've got like the last of the batch that they ever made. So kind of stinks. They're making them in all-wheel drive going forward, but I haven't even tested the 4-wheel drive out. Probably don't even work. Brand new van, but it doesn't work.
Let's hope you don't ever switch it in it. let's give him all wheel drive, but hope he never switch to 4-wheel.
So yeah, man, like I'm open to whatever adventures you want to partake in, and I think you and I are probably going to bump into each other next week, maybe sometime.
Definitely, I should be getting to Rapid City sometime Monday, probably around 1, 2 o'clock. I'll definitely
Okay.
swing downtown for sure.
All right, I'll make some coyote tacos. I'm not eating any of it. I'm literally going to have somebody shoot one. I'm going to make a phone call when we get down to there and be like, "Hey, you shoot me a coyote." My buddy Trey's coming out. We're making a El Pastor with it with some pineapple on top.
You gotta try it. I'll only try it if you try it.
Hell no,
Why not?
no,
It's not gonna hurt
no,
nobody.
dude, no, man. It's like eating like no.
It's not like you're gonna cook the whole thing on like a
What
grill
what
where
part
it's like
what part do you want to eat?
the backstrap. What little backstrap they have.
All right. But how are you gonna? This is gonna get recorded though.
I'm fine with
You
it.
eating it's gonna get recorded,
Yes, you gonna eat it
and if
too.
I make it so it tastes good, that's gonna be the part that's gonna really
Yeah, but you gotta try
torque
it
me
too. I'm
off.
not gonna be the only one eating it.
How about if you take a bite and then I take a bite?
No, we're gonna take a bite at the
So
same
no
time.
bullshit. You were like, I'm eating a coyote. Now you're making me eat it first.
No. We will both.
Same time.
There'll be two coyote tacos, and we'll sit there and 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
But
And
I,
no
but I'm
and
going.
no
But I'm
alcohol
gonna let you know.
before then either.
I'm going to wait for you to bite yours and eat yours before I bite into mine because I know I'm going to eat mine. You're not going to be like, psych. Nah, I'm waiting. Letting you know you got to.
I think this
We
is gonna happen. This is probably gonna happen.
we can do the back strap and whatever, and if they don't got enough back strap, then the hams.
I think the back straps will be. I'll go home and feel the back of my dog. I'll have a better
No,
idea.
I do it all the time. I rub chaos. I'm like, man, if times ever get hard,
Oh, my wife gets so mad at me talking about Katie like that. She's like, "You will not eat our dog." Like, look at them hams, though, man. I know what she's
yeah,
feed. I know what we've been feeding her.
yeah, look at them hams. I feel his back strap. Like, yeah, man, times get hard. But
Never know.
it'll be a last resort. Last resort.
Okay, and I can't overdo the seasoning on it. And all right,
Salt and pepper. No marinade. Salt and pepper. Well, here, this is what you do. Take a back strap, cut it in half. Do one, salt and pepper. Other one, put whatever rub on it. Smoke it, braise it, whatever you're gonna do.
I swear to God, if it ruins my pans, I'll do it on the grill.
Yeah, do it on the grill.
I'll do it on the grill.
Or go to Dollar General and get some pans. I'll go to Dollar General and get some pans.
No, because then we're gonna be cooking it indoors.
You can cook it on the grill.
Okay, we'll cook it on the grill.
They got cheap $4 cast irons at Dollar General. They ain't work.
Hey,
They ain't worth
how
nothing.
long till you publish this? Do you think it's probably gonna take you forever to edit it? But when are you gonna publish this?
Tomorrow. Or
Because I was
Monday.
gonna say we could get my kid Andrew to eat it and not tell him, and then we could watch him. I mean, he's 20; he'd eat anything anyway. But
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. I'm still gonna. I'm still eating it regardless. He gonna let's have him take the first bite. He eat it. Oh, Dad, this is great. Oh, cool. So I would do it.
All right. I'm game with that. You can publish this whenever
College
you
friends,
want. He won't get a chance to watch it for a while anyway.
Hey, Andrew, we making some deer tacos. All y'all come over and eat. All the buddies come over.
That kid's a garbage
We got the
disposal. It won't
coyote.
even matter.
We got the coyote over the fires.
So we but we could actually have Julie eat it instead. That way you can watch how a divorce is properly performed.
Yeah. I'm not getting involved in that, man.
Yeah, the mountain lion was enough. I think a coyote might be a little different.
You tell her it's Katie. Put Katie in the back room. Like, what's this? Katie wasn't doing too well. So
she found, she was on my phone one time and she found like where I've been Googling like taxidermy for dogs. Cause I was like, so when the dog dies, I'm just gonna get it mounted, like curled up. Cause she's always like, yeah, when Katie's gone, what kind of dog are we gonna get? And I'm like, we're done. No more pets. I'm all petted out. Just gonna get her like all coiled up so she can lay on her little dog blanket over there in front of the TV and we can just stare at her sleeping all the time.
Have you seen those soft mounts?
Yeah. She ain't having nothing to do. Like she's so mad at me at this point on like even bringing it up because I'm that guy. We had a cat one time and I got it cremated, and $700 later, yeah, she's like, "What? Why would you?" And I go, "Because I didn't want to bury it in the yard because we were gonna move or whatever, and I didn't want somebody digging it up later on." Like, so that stupid urn's been traveling around with us for like the last 14 years, I think. Yeah. Now I know what you would have done, but you would have ate it. You'd have ate the cat because you're trying everything.
Not a pet, man. Not a pet that's going down. No.
I suppose cavemen, like, did they eat their pets?
Probably. They didn't have pets. Everything was food. Everything was food. Everything.
So if times get really bad, I'm going to be like, yeah, we should have ate that cat, huh, DeAndre?
Yep. If it gets too bad, ate that cat.
Bet you wish we had that cat now.
You could have took the hams off of it and froze it.
Oh my God.
I don't know. Yeah. I've always thought like if something happened to Teos, like would I get him like a shoulder mount? Can you shoulder mount a dog?
Yeah. What would you have? But it'd have to be doing something. Otherwise, it'd be doing like two straight legs down, looking up at you.
You can't just do like the like looking this way or something, like a deer shoulder mount.
I know my wife will see this, so I don't really care. But the ultimate deal is if my mother-in-law passed away and we had her in an urn, and then we could get the dog mounted with its rear leg raised up and put it over the top of the urn.
And then have some like epoxy pee. That's wrong.
I know. I'm sorry. I love my mother-in-law.
That was bad.
Yeah, you just edit that
out. Yeah, we'll cut that out. But Rob, man, like I said, I appreciate you taking time out of your day to
absolutely,
come
man,
to the podcast and talk to me. And I need to go and give me something to eat because I'm starving.
Me too. My wife's working out really close by. I can hear her, so that means I gotta go make supper on my own. But let's do a camp. Let's do something, or at least archery, antelope hunting. Let's get together.
Let's get it. I'm
all
down.
Right. All right. I'll see you next week for coyote tacos.
For sure. Well, this is another episode of the Dreaded Archer Podcast. I'm your host, Trey, along with my buddy, Rob, and we are out.